Hey heroes, welcome back. As you're back from vacation, my friend,
Yeah,
and it's time to do our full-on season 1, just full thoughts. I've had time to watch the whole season again,
let's go.
and I did a sort of I did my ranking of the episodes, so it might end up getting yours as well. Just getting going here, and just now that we've had time, a little time to process it, what are we thinking about season 1, the full season? Likes, dislikes, where do you kind of rank some of your episodes, and some of the big questions we have that are going to be show only? Some stuff might dive into the books a little bit, and then we'll talk about where we're going to be going. Then we're talking about where we're going to be going forward just a little bit here, with our show, diving back into the books.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's start with this. I guess overall, just our initial, like, the big picture, big takeaway. What was season 1 a success? Yes, successful, very successful. Did a great job. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I think it was great. I, gosh, I don't know about the ending yet. I had to go back and watch that again. I felt a little bit better about it, but it wasn't the ending I was expecting. It wasn't necessarily the ending that I wanted. But I still want more, and I'm still there were still really epic moments, really hype moments, and I was happy about that. And for me, the biggest thing about season 1 that I really enjoyed was that I got to see different scenes that were never in the books but were alluded to, and that took place. And they said, okay, in with the show, we can go and see those. We can see the women's circle. We can show you things in the tower. We can see Logain's trial. We can see some of these things that we didn't necessarily get to see in the books. Now, some people didn't like that because they wanted to see the books regurgitated again, chapter by chapter, page by page, and it didn't happen. And I'm okay with some change, man. I'm okay with some of these changes that were made. I'm all
Right.
right, but there were some changes that I don't know. Like, towards the end, I was
Right.
like, this is getting out of hand a little bit. But I mean, no, it was still really good, and I still got the chills. I was still blown away. We did over on Apple, Apple Premium. We did a reaction to some of the season finale stuff that was leaked that you actually showed me. And I'll just go ahead and say it. So some of that stuff sent chills down my spine. Like, just seeing Balsamon, Shamael, all this stuff happening. It was crazy. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I overall enjoyed it. I thought it was really good all along. I really thought the season finale was going to hit harder. And I think if you take that away, if you ask me this question right before season finale, I'm like, this is epic. I'm over the top talking about how awesome it is. And then the season finale kind of didn't sit too well with me. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think I agree with you a lot. I really enjoyed 1 through 7. I didn't like 8 very much. I thought it was the worst episode of the season. Actually, I thought it was, to be honest, I would give it quite a bit lower rating than just about every other episode. There were obviously changes, again, like you said, going off some of the stuff they added. Getting to see the White Cloaks for me was a great. I thought that the way they did the White Cloaks was great, made them way more menacing, way more serious than they are in the books. Lan, I thought, was great. Daniel Haney's portrayal of Lan, getting to see him more, just being a boss. I thought he was awesome. Trying to think of some other things that I just really genuinely enjoyed. I thought the sets, looked good. There were definitely moments, I would say, inconsistencies a little bit with, like, CGI. I would say sometimes, like, it looked okay. Sometimes it looked a little off. But for the most part, I definitely felt good about it. I think actually I think the acting was great for the whole season.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Anytime it was kind of awkward or weird, I felt like was really obviously script driven, like episode 8. um so there was definitely nothing on, like, ooh, this is bad acting.
Hmm.
Anytime I didn't particularly like something, you could chalk that up to script. But I think as a season 1, it did its job. right? Which
Yeah,
is
yeah, for sure.
which is to get you set up to get a season 2. Most shows flop after season 1. This show is is already greenlit for season 3. So with the lack of impact from COVID, I mean, there'll still be somewhat of an impact, but certainly it's now way more lax than it obviously was when they were filming this, when everything originally shut down in like March of 2020. I think with that, and you're not having a main character leave, because who knows how much that really impacted 7 and 8. Then I think I'm excited for season 2. I think it'll probably be better, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm here. I think season 2 will be better, and I think there's a lot more to look forward to in that season. Budget being better. I mean, you said all the COVID concerns, different things. They had time too. What I heard was that when season 1 was going on and they had a lot of these things done, it gave them time to look ahead and say, what can we put in season 1 or towards the end? Add in, take out, whatever that's going to tie us and help us move into season 2 and make it better. Because I want to see things that pay off, right? Like paying attention in season 1 should matter for season 2. Like I want to see those things. I want rewarded for watching season 1. And so hopefully some of those, some of these questions will be answered, or there'll be some other mystery or some foreshadowing that pays off later on. I'm looking forward to it, but I liked it. I thought it was cool to see the world. I thought it was cool to see the costumes and some of the props. I felt like they did a good job with that. And, again, I think people's biggest gripe is some of the story changes, and we could talk all about that later, because I have a whole list of questions I want to ask, things that still aren't answered and things that are different. We started up that series basically like differences between the books and the show, and there are quite a few, which we get. We're not going to be able to mention all of them because, by God, it's there are quite a few changes. But yeah, again, happy to see the world. I will remind folks that I never thought the Wheel of Time was going to, on this grand of scale, was going to come out. We were going to get to see
to any means,
like a Randall Thor on screen, and actually just to see any of these individuals show up. So I am happy, I guess, that is happening. I know some people are like, well, you know what, they've botched it so much that I'd rather them not have done it. I'm totally out on that. I still think like that I'm happy that we have it, and the spirit of the show for the most part is or the spirit of the books is there in the show for the most part. So
right. Yeah, I mean, and again, I'll say this too with season, just in terms of like what I expect for season 2, is I just watched The Witcher season 2, and I liked it way more than
sure.
season 1.
Me
Like
too.
I was like, my God, I felt like it was such a step up. So, just keep that in mind as with season 1. Now, again, if it turns out if season 2 is all of like episode 8, then okay, I might be good. I might be out, right? I mean, okay, I think I'm good. Like, but I'm not saying that's gonna be, that's gonna be the case. But so we got this season as we got the first 3 episodes, and then we got an episode a week after that. I already kind of did my ranking. I'd have to go back and specifically look at how I ranked it, but I know I had episode 8 at the bottom, and I had episode 7, I think, as my number. Or which one did I have? I go back and look. Now I can't even think straight of which episodes I had where. But I really loved, for me, like I really loved episode 1, because just to be able to see those first opening chapters were amazing.
Yeah.
And then Dana, the Dark Friend, and that opening night, and getting Tom Maryland there was just so good. And then coolest shot for me of season 1 has to have been the blood snow opening scene,
sure.
and getting that just awesome. That scene was just so awesome.
Yeah. No, that was a really good scene. So for me, I've got it pulled up here, just some of the episodes, and I'll just kind of do I'm not really sure I'm gonna rank them, but I want to talk to you guys about my favorites. I did love episode 1. I thought it was just cool because it was probably the hype, it was the emotion. We were like, Matt and I were thinking we were getting it early, and so I was like, this is cool, we were like so locked in, and it was just awesome. So that's towards the top. Shadows Waiting in episode 2, I was a little bit. The Manetheren stuff was cool. I am glad Rafe kept that in. That was cool to hear the song and the backstory and to get that moment. It wasn't as powerful as like what Moraine does in front of the villagers and everything, but it still was there, and it felt good. Episode 3, A Place of Safety. Now, yeah, that one was the one with the dark friend, right? That was
Dana.
Dana the Dark Friend. That was good. So episodes 1 and 3 are like up there in the maybe the top tier for me. So I'll keep that in mind. The Dragon Reborn. Now this is where Lan's throat is like slit, right? And Nynaeve does her healing
Right.
at the. That might be my favorite moment, actually. I didn't think they were going to do that. It's just such a departure. It's so different. It's a battle with Logain. I know it's crazy, but it was just like it had me shocked. People are going to be raging because I know that was so hard for people to kind of take and to see that happen. But like his lines to her, the romance building, the things that were happening there, it was pretty awesome. And to see the other Ajas, to see the greens and the reds interacting and the warders. I know some people didn't like that because there was a lot of focus on Steppen, the warder, and people were like, "What the heck? Come on, well, you know what's why is this guy getting on the screen time?" But it was cool. It made it. I guess it hit harder there in that episode in the following one where Steppen will die and then his warder died in episode 4. But Nynaeve's situation, like the healing of Lan in the Dragon Reborn episode 4 was cool, and we had the internet was buzzing like, "Is she the Dragon Reborn?" All this stuff. It was crazy. So I thought that was a high moment for sure. And then Blood Calls to Blood, episode 5. I don't know. That was
I had it towards the bottom.
yeah, it just wasn't a whole lot there. It was
this was just
yeah.
Well,
It's
yeah.
okay.
And for me, looking back on it, I feel like honestly that now, like when I first kind of saw it, I was like, that's kind of emotional. It's kind of cool. But now going back and seeing the whole thing again, I felt like that was an enormous waste of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know they've been trying to really explore that warder Aes Sedai bond, and like again, they're trying to show that. So again, one of the things I liked, and I said this at the top of the show, was that I like that you got to see scenes that weren't. And people were like, yeah, that weren't there in the books, like, yeah, okay, that's true. So we get to see some of this other stuff with the tower. And so it's interesting that that's a thing, or that's something that was, in the show. We get to see them experience, or we get to experience this ceremony with the warders and see how they deal with loss and bringing the rings back to Tar Valon and melting them down and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool. But yeah, it was a bit too much. And again, Lan did a great job. Daniel Henney was awesome. I loved his acting, and it's powerful, and it did get you like, whoa, it was jarring. It does do its job and like really evoking emotion, but it was almost just like too much. I don't know. But that's been what they wanted. They wanted that those feels. So yeah, that was, I don't know. Episode 6, The Flame of Tar Valon, I thought it was great. I love this episode because
that's the Swan episode.
Yeah, on your knees, the whole thing, right? I mean. Wow, weren't we all? But it was good. I really liked it, and I like to see Siuan and Moiraine. That was one of those things again that was hinted at quite a bit. We didn't know how much they were going to play that relationship up and how much of that they were going to show us, and it helped the audience to go, "Oh, she's into Siuan," like they're romantically involved, which leaves Lan open because up until that point, everyone's thinking like, "Oh, poor Nynaeve," because she feels like Lan belongs to or is romantically involved with Moiraine, and then you find out in 6, okay, we're all as well, and then it's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool to see this relationship, and then just to see Logain speak into power. That was the other piece. Logain through all of this was really cool. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So that was up towards the top. The Dark Along the Ways. Yeah, it was good. That was really good, actually. Sorry, I almost said that it wasn't. That was really good. I enjoyed the whole Rand coming to the conclusion that he is the dragon, and it was epic. That was the one right with the opener with the Dragon Mount. Yeah, that was the Dragon Mount opener,
right?
Cold open, and that was great. That was fantastic. So, and yeah, at episode 8, I don't know. Yeah, maybe, it's terrible to say that the Eye of the World was not up there. It's not in the top 4. For me.
That it should have been.
It should have been. Yeah, like it's terrible to say that, but like it really wasn't. The beginning was great. I loved the opening, and I don't know, man, it just didn't hit the same way I thought that I thought it should. And
right.
Yeah. I'm still a huge fan of it, and I still enjoyed it. And it does leave us with a lot of questions, a lot of things that we're going to wrap up that we're going to talk about today in this episode. But it just did not hit the way I thought it should. There were really good chilling moments though, with the Shamael and sort of this Age of Legends stuff, and then Moraine confronting him and all that was cool, but it just wasn't enough. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You got some comments here. A lot of people are saying, a lot of people said they thought Leandrin was better than in the books.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. Leandrin was great, and I like what they're doing with the Red Aja, and I like how she seems justified in taking out Logain. He killed somebody, buddy. He killed one of the Greens. I mean, sorry, but he needs gentle. Now, that's just coming from her perspective. I think, she needs to stand trial herself, and I don't know why we're gentle in all these men. But yeah, it was good. And I have a topic later where we'll talk about what's going on with the Red Aja and what's going on with Leandrin, because I think they've left us on a really good cliffhanger that I think is something to look into, that to theorize for season 2. But yeah, Leandrin's portrayal was great.
So what grade would you give season 1 as a whole?
Oh, give it an A. Give it an A, bro.
Yeah, like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. 9 out of 10, 90%, 90%. Now, here's the thing. Maybe I could be persuaded to knock it down. See, the last episode literally for me could knock it down to 85 to 87, right, which sucks, because I the reason I went high on it is because I'm sort of like, maybe I need to go back and rewatch that again, that episode. And
I have. It doesn't really
doesn't have. Okay, well, that sucks. That sucks. But again, some people loved it though. Let's talk about that. Some people really were like, "Hey, I thoroughly enjoyed that last episode. What are you guys talking about?" And we saw the comments on YouTube, and I hear you guys. That's cool. We're just being honest. We're not. It's funny because early on, I think people were like railing on us because we were really into episodes 1 through 3, and people are like, "What the heck?" But it's like, no, genuinely, that's how we felt. And then towards the end, people are like up on the season finale, and we're kind of like, I don't know, like felt like the Eye of the World hit a lot harder than that. Like the book ending really hits hard. And yeah.
I think I'm at a 7 out of 10 for season 1.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, and again, it's not that I don't think it'll go, it's awful or terrible or anything. Now that I've gone back and rewatched it for what it is. And now, like, cause again, it's hard when you're sort of watching it like episode by episode, because you don't get to see things where, because now I go back and when my initial sort of watch of things, right? Like the first time I watched it, I thought, okay, like the Steppen stuff was cool. Now that I finished it, I realized that the Steppen stuff shouldn't even have been there, because I feel like it was a waste of time, because a lot of what happens in episode 8, unfortunately, that's what your season is for. Your season is there to build up your season finale. And so they could have spent more time building up Padan Fane. They could have spent more time building up the Dark One as a villain, and like why it's going to be important that we face him. Like Padan Fane just sort of shows up, and if you don't catch him in that one episode, which is cool that it's kind of like an Easter egg and whatever, then if you're a total newbie watching this, you're going to be like, who is this guy again?
Yeah, I know.
And now he's like the main villain, and so. Now I can look back and I can be like, I feel like this was a waste. This was a waste. This was a waste. And so again, I'm at a 7. I'm still excited for season 2. I'm still down. I think season 2 will be better, but that's where I give it a C. I give it a CW10. Hey, the CW is up for sale right now, by the way. It's up for sale, so I don't know who's gonna buy it, but man, let me just say really quick, some of these CW shows, I don't know, the CW honestly has fell down so far that I think Wheel of Time is better than I watched some stuff from The Flash the other day. It looks like PS2 graphics. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, that's why it's getting
it's gone. I actually think Amazon might buy it, to be entirely honest, but that's a story for another time. But Yeah, so I feel like there was definitely a lot of moments where they wasted time, and a lot of it to me is on that on the Steppen episode, where like they kind of begin to explain the Forsaken a little bit, like, oh, when you're praying to the Forsaken to keep them away, like that was cool, that was lore building, but then it doesn't go anywhere, and then we've actually introduced the idea of the Forsaken, and then we don't even talk about them when one shows up at the end. You know,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You know
I
what I
do.
mean? So
I do. I
there
wanted more
there
Forsaken stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so then like I rewatched the episode in episode 8. I mean, again, there's a lot of stuff in episode 8, but in episode 8 specifically, I feel like, man, you spent like 5 or 10 minutes doing all this stuff with Lady Amalicia and Lord Algamar talking about like their ancestral armor and why it's important. And then Algamar just goes on rides and dies. And then she's there. And then they're talking about how great it is that the women of the city are going to save the city, which was something they do in episode 1, which is cool when the ladies, like the women's circle's taking down a Trolloc. That's cool. But then in episode 8, you show that, oh, the women are going to defend this city, and they're like preparing, ballistas and getting spears and stuff ready, and then it's just the 5 girls that use the power to kill all the Trollocs. So you didn't even need to show us that these women are going to build it up. So what it does is it actually sort of diminishes like the women of the Two River, because it's like, well, actually it's not as important. You just need the power in order to sort of defeat like Trollocs and all this stuff. And so you have to look at some of these points now that I can see the whole season and be like, okay, well, they set this point up here, and then this point finally came into fruition here. And did it hit as hard as it should have? Well, no, because they didn't build it up enough along the way.
Yeah.
So now that I can view it as its own thing, that's where I'm at. Is I'm at like I'm at a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. The cool thing though, and where I'll give the show some credit, and people are mentioning here in the comments, right, that the last 2 episodes suffered a lot because of COVID and just money, scale, actor quitting, whole different thing,
Yeah.
whatever, for sure. But now some of these earlier points that Matt brings up, that you spent screen time on and story time on, I feel like what they said was, hey, this is a setup for season 2 or season 3. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, all we've seen, right, is season 1 and the finale. And we're going back saying, well, God, I mean, none of this stuff is paying off here at the end of season 1. But when they wrote it, and you can say whether that's good or bad. You could say that's a dumb idea to do that, or you could say, hey, that's going to pay off in season 2 or season 3. But how much time and how much that you do could be, it's a balancing act. Like you can't do too much of it, because it is nice to set up some of the Aja camps and the politicking, and some of that stuff will matter later on. But by God, you needed to understand the Forsaken. It was important that we understood the Dark One and some of these other things. I don't know. It was again also like they tried to keep us guessing the whole time, which was okay. Frustrated some book readers for sure, like Who is the Dragon Reborn? And by the way, I have a title coming up here in a little bit. We're going to talk about this. We're making some videos out of our podcast. We're going to talk about the Dragon Reborn and whether he is Rand al'Thor. That'll set people off, right? So yeah. Anyways, I get your points, and I always tend to kind of skew a little bit higher on. I'm a little bit more easygoing, more optimistic, or whatever. But the more it takes me longer, Matt, just like with the Star Wars sequels, it takes me longer to go back and because I really want to see, I really want to see the good. I really always want to pull.
It took me, guys. It took me like 2 years to finally convince Ez that The Last Jedi is not a good movie, and now he's like, guys, it sucks. Like,
sucks. There's one good moment in it, and Rian Johnson was a rogue.
It wasn't until Rise of Skywalker. To be fair, though, I mean, even with that, we needed Rise of Skywalker to be like, is this all going to work out and pay off? And then it didn't. So then it's like, okay, now I can view the whole picture as a thing. And again, there could be stuff here, right, that does play into season 2, and then it's like, okay, it makes more sense. It's bigger, it's more important, because it's something that will come up throughout the show that might be a show only thing, and then it turns out to be something like, kind of cool and interesting. So I will certainly give it that. I need to see season 2 before I can judge the series and how the show is going to be going as a whole. But So for me, just season 1, it's like I look at these moments and this didn't pay off as well, even though they tried to set some stuff up here. And that's not to say there aren't stuff they did. There are some things I think they did better than the books, to be honest. Right?
Yeah.
The white cloaks for me are way cooler than they are in the books. Like
Yeah.
the white cloaks in the books
Or a joke.
are like they're a joke. They
Yeah, it's
feel
annoying.
they never feel threatening ever whatsoever. Like they just never ever feel threatening. I mean, in episode 2 of the show, they have already shown us. I mean, not even episode 2. I mean, it's like the opening of episode 2. So we're an episode and 10 minutes in, and the white cloaks are already infinitely more serious than they are like ever in the books.
Yeah. Which again, then people are like, well, that they get all bent out of shape about like, well, they can't do that. You're giving them too much power and stuff. But I mean, kind of a joke. Like I don't know. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I thought they were much better in the show.
I loved the scene. I loved the scene where they show up later and he's got Egwene and Perrin. I thought that was great. And that was a good payoff, right?
Yeah.
They set it up here and it pays off, and it pays off later. They attack the Tinkers. So cool, cool sort of payoff here too. And so, and I'll toss this question too to our chat. We got a lot of people in the chat here. This is awesome. What's something you thought is there anything that you thought they did better in the show than was done in the books? So I'm sure there's obviously a lot of things we think they did that was worse than the books, but anything you think, anything that you think that they did better. So like for me, it's the white cloaks. I feel like the white cloaks are cooler in the show than they are in the books.
And what
Logain, I think, is another one, which people have been saying.
Yeah. While you check the comments, I'll mention mine. Mine was the Nynaeve Lan romance. I really liked how hard they went, especially during the Dragon Reborn episode 4. I was like, man, this is great. I really felt like it's more obvious. It's more, it feels, I don't know. It just was more direct. They were more open about it. And you can see Lan kind of the way he interacts with her, the way Moiraine looks at her, the way she interacts with Moiraine, trying to understand the Warder Aes Sedai bond is something she's doing. And then just the old tongue and some of that Malkier verbiage that he uses towards her. And it was good. Thought that was great. So yeah.
Lan went hard on Nynaeve. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I like that too. Because the Nynaeve is my least favorite character, except for when she's with Lan, and I feel like, man, every time she's with Lan, I actually enjoy her more than in the books. But that's one. A lot of people are saying Lan, Leandrin, and Logain. A lot of people are saying Logain seems way cooler.
Yeah, I'm with them on that. That was something before this all started. We were like, man, how much of the Logain arc are they going to show? And they really used it to show us what is the White Tower's purpose, the Red Lodge's purpose. Why is it so dangerous for a man to channel? We got to see some of the corruption, the Dark One, what it can do to people. And then you're like, okay, hopefully, I mean, I think the audience is thinking, if you're a non-book reader, hopefully one of those boys is not actually the Dragon Reborn, because they're going to end up like this guy, Logain. And we saw what happened to him on his knees in front of the Amerlin seat and just crying and crazy. That was emotional. So Logain was definitely great.
Yeah, great comment here too from Dawson. He says, I think bringing in Logain from off screen in the books was great because it made for the madness and danger of men channeling and the threat of gentling more real for the audience with Rand. Or Matt or anybody that they thought. I actually did like the idea of keeping, because it only mattered in season 1, like the idea of the dragon being a woman or something to because it had us there for a little bit, which was fun, being like, are they going to change it? Right.
Yeah.
And I think it was cool if you're a new show person. It's not really, now that we know Rand is the dragon, I don't think it's ever going to be brought up really ever again. So I think it was just, that's a cool kind of change to do.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. The Leandrin point too, just as I saw people mentioning that again. She's great, really good. I felt like she does fantastic job. The actress does a great job, and I think there's a lot of conversation going around about her maybe filling more than one role and being more of the head or the figurehead for the Red Aja. Will she be a Lida? All that kind of stuff. Not really sure. I don't know if you guys have any casting rumors or news out there, but they might continue with Leandrin. in that role of a lot like Elida's role. I don't know if they're going to give her the gift of foretelling or anything, but I like her. You know, I liked her portrayal.
Yeah, I would say this was an odd change for me, in all honesty. Um, unless they go back to explain it later that well, they did kind of say a little bit that more like Nynaeve could remember in the books. Nynaeve can track Egwene because she healed her.
Yeah.
Right. Well, in the show, she kind of heals Moraine because Moraine gets injured where she doesn't. Says, I love Nynaeve, but there's no way anyone can say she should know how to track Moraine better than Lan in any way. I kind of agree. I kind of agree with
Yeah.
that.
What was the tell? What was the?
They didn't say. They didn't say.
That is a Maz Kanata
That's
story
a
for
story
another time.
for another time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I want to take us into another topic if that's cool. Or
Yeah,
are there more?
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I saw this early in the chat, and I'm going to bring it up here. It's a comment. So I'm going to feature this comment, and then we're going to talk about it here. Okay. So is it true that Ishii will be the only Forsaken? Is that so? First of all, I just want to mention, and I don't care if this is a short video that we clip out later. I want to get some comments and thoughts on it. But would that not be there? There's no way, right, Matt? Because they showed. Now there was mention that you might have less or fewer because the figurines that Steppen was looking at.
There were 7 or 8 figurines.
Right. So I just wanted to throw it out there for people. Like, has anybody heard that is a rumor or whatever? Because I am worried that they're not going to show more of the Forsaken, or I don't know. I do, because even in like when you look at Harry Potter and you look at Voldemort and some of the other dark lords around him or lesser whatever characters, even if you didn't, you might mention them by like he goes around and he does the whole like pulls their face mask off, right, and names them. I at least need that. Like I want to hear them all mentioned, and I want people to understand that they were like this. Like I want them to understand the connection to Lews Therin, and I'm glad we got Lews Therin in this season, so that way we can make connections to him and talk about the dragon, or as they say, the Dragon Reborn, which was great because the wheel just turns on and on and on. But
yeah. So I don't think we're getting all of the Forsaken. I do think they're going to limit it to like 7 or possibly 8. And again, Ishii kind of counts as 2. So yeah, so really, if you want to look at it that, I mean, the question I guess I kind of think about is, do you necessarily, again, as we do have to as much as we all want everything to be in, at the end of the day, you can't have it all in.
Yeah.
Do we necessarily need all of them? Do we necessarily need all of them in the books? No. The answer is no. You definitely don't. But I would say that you have to have like you could not tell. Great comment here. There is no way you could tell the story of Wheel of Time and keep it anywhere close without Lanfear. There's zero way to tell the story without Lanfear.
Right.
Could you tell it without Grendel? I don't think so. Like maybe,
Yeah.
But I would say you'd almost have to have her. And I'm blanking just on his name right now. Who's the Forsaken that teaches Rand?
Osmodian.
Osmodian.
Yeah.
Could you do it without Osmodian? I do think you could, because I think
shift it to someone else, or
I think you could actually have Logain. You could swap some stuff around, and I think Logain could teach Rand how to channel. So there's one I think you could possibly get rid of and it sort of be okay. But
this is a good comment. Yeah, definitely.
There's no way. Yeah, there's no way you could tell the story without Moghedien. There's just no way.
Yeah, right, exactly. Demandred, Osmodian, as you said, if you don't choose Osmodian, you choose someone else, or you make it. I mean, I maybe because he sticks around for what, book and a half, 2 books.
Right.
So yeah, but definitely. I mean, that's what I was kind of wondering. But here's my other question. I guess a follow up to this is the Dark One as represented in season 1. What point do they roll back on that and say these are just Forsaken and that they go? Are we going to see Shale Ghul? Are they going to go there and we're going to see them speak to beyond kind of like through the Dark One's prison? Like, are we going to get some ominous thing to where the audience understands that? Do we need that, or do we just have to bring forward your Nameless, your top Dark Lord? right? And maybe that's all we need is that person to be the mouthpiece, and no one ever. I don't know. Like that's something I'm not really sure how they're going to do all of that, because it's just way more complicated and more explained in the books. You have time to do that,
Right.
and we need to visually see this, and I don't know. So
Right. So which I guess here's a question for you. Which Forsaken do you think we absolutely have? I know they've already said we're going to get.
Lanfear.
Well, they haven't said, but they by showing us the sort of the figures of them, I think it's possible that we're going to be only getting that many. I mean, again, I think it's impossible to tell the story without Ishamael and Lanfear. I mean, if those are the only two we got, and you're going to maneuver other stuff around to they're just sort of big bad dark friends, you could almost do it, but there's zero way to tell the story without Ishamael and Lanfear.
No, I agree. Like you need that. Someone
I
else
would
who
almost
can,
say Lanfear is more important than Ishamael.
yeah, well, especially to Luce Theron and to Rand, yeah, for sure. I would say too. I saw someone mention like Mo Gideon being super important. You have characters like Ravine and Samael who are just sort of big, strong. I mean, one occupies Camelin, one occupies like we've got Tyr, we've got oh gosh, I'm blanking. But anyways, they occupy different seats of power. Could you merge some of those? Could you merge locations?
Or could you have it be just a dark friend? Could we name some of these other people and have them just be, you don't have to ever say they're specifically they're Forsaken, right?
Yeah.
It could still be the same person. I mean,
Yeah. Like, okay, let me go over it. So,
I mean, Slayer, I mean, he's kind of important.
Yeah, for sure. So there's characters like Agenor, right? Who shows up in the beginning of or who shows up in the Eye of the World and
gets wrecked
and is wrecked, and then comes back in a reincarnation later. Spoilers, things like that, right? Bartholomew, I always say his name wrong. Possibly, same as Agenor. Baal was the one who, let's see, I don't know. That was also someone that I think Moraine, right, took him on. Is that necessary? I don't know. Like Lanfear, yes. Grendel is pretty big. Mo Gideon is a for sure. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Are there comments on which one would you cut? Which one do you?
Some of them here. Ravine was such a waste in the books.
Like he's powerful, but I mean,
right. I think there was a comment earlier too, something kind of going off of what we said as well, or maybe we even read it, was you could have easy to have low gain, just teach Rand so you could possibly cut Osmodian.
Yeah. Ravine is cool. So here's something that is cool. I do like his story, and that like Lord Gabriel and compulsion and things that are going on in Camelin and what you can do. Someone hiding in plain sight, who's a great lord. They also do that with Samael as well. So those two characters one's just in Ilion, one's over in Camelin, and I feel like if you wanted to merge two characters, people don't jump down my throat here, but that might be two that you could kind of do that with. Like Ravine is there, and then he's Balefired. I mean, he's out. Like,
right. No, yeah, you're gonna. I mean, again, if it's 8 episodes, 8 seasons, right? You're gonna have to merge people and things along the way. And the interesting thing is actually, and I would say anytime we ever honestly talk about this, which is honestly, I think the most fun thing to talk about. Every time we do a live stream in the chat, everyone's always sort of coming up with new ideas. Most people are actually like. The funny thing is as much as we've sort of criticized, especially like episode 8, and a lot of the criticism of the show is this, it feels like the stuff they're cutting out isn't stuff that we're all actually willing like to compromise on. It seems like everyone's pretty willing to compromise on quite a bit of stuff to be cut.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's like, oh, you don't need this. You don't need this. Yeah. Get rid of that. But then it's like, so it's,
Right. Yeah. So I hear you. Look at this. We got Cut Masima or Masana. Yeah, she's so hidden in the background. Yeah, not very well developed. Yeah, again, so there are people are you guys leave us a comment once we post this video again later. Just leave us a comment on what you guys think, because I think that's going to be an interesting conversation. Is which Forsaken, how do you merge the Forsaken, how do you introduce them? Yeah, do you merge some storylines? Because man, I mean, also too, it is confusing as Matt has gone through the books for like a first time reader, and I remember you're like, wait, who? Where?
Right.
Dark Friend Social? Like trying to keep track of all of them and where they're at and who was destroyed and who's reincarnated, and then wait, Rand killed Balsamon 3 times. What's going on here, right? I mean, like,
And then Balsamon isn't actually really, he's just a
I
Shamael, and
yeah,
it's
that, and you have time in the book to have characters deal with that and carry that. I don't think you're gonna have time to do all that kind of stuff in the show, so they need
right.
to. That's gonna have to be different.
Yeah, because I think next season, and I don't. Again, they've cast a bunch of people, but I don't think they have specifically said X person is Celine / Lanfear. But if you look at her, that's definitely what she looks like.
Mhm.
I mean, Lanfear is so important. She's gonna have to be introduced as a Forsaken, especially because like maybe Rand we don't see Balsamon Ishi next season, and we just see Lanfear, and she's the big setup, and then we deal with her at the end of deal with her
Yeah.
at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
Really,
That's a really great,
because
like,
you need to give him time to breathe.
yeah. Because what are you gonna do with this guy who we've seen, right? We have this actor, and we saw Rand do his thing. I think Moraine is hinting at it's not over. This is just the beginning. So do we need to bring him back and realize, oh, he's not gone yet, but then add someone else, or do we just move someone else in his place? But then the audience thinks like, oh yeah, he's dealt with. And at what point do you bring him back? See, I don't know. That's where I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna do. And people are mentioning it in the comments, like, it is it necessary to bring him in for 3 seasons in a row and then have him killed, changed, and then reincarnated into a new body and brought back at the end? And his whole demeanor changes. I don't know. That is going to be interesting to see what they do with the Forsaken. Someone said you could merge the 3 Lord impersonators. They do exactly the same thing, and I think there's room to do those type of things for sure. But
there's definitely a lot of merging. There's a lot of merging that we well, not only that we can do, but we will sort of have to do to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we move into a different topic here. Are you cool with that?
We have a handful of questions, and I think at the end we can even come back and dive into like I try to do it every time because I think it's super important, is pull up the roadmap and see how where are we at now and where do we go from here.
Yeah. So let's bring up an interesting one. I mean, I've got some other ones that are just kind of like obvious answers too, but ones that maybe aren't as obvious. Like, so Leandrin's man in the North Harbor. Have you guys heard any? I mean, we're just gonna do a little rumor speculation on this. This was mentioned by Moraine in the season. Are we going to get a reveal of that man in season 2? How much does that person matter? You guys in the comments, I don't know, let us know. Has there been any rumor out there or any other I don't know, like little Easter eggs that mentioned more about who that could be? Is it just someone? Is it a connection to? Is she worried about it because of a romantic interest, Matt? Is it Black Aja related? Is it Forsaken related? Like, is she speaking to someone who's possibly even a Forsaken? We've got someone already bringing up Slayer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that I think was interesting, and it's one of those things that's well done to lay a breadcrumb for a season later where you didn't take a whole step in setup situation, introduce the Green Aja. If you want to lay breadcrumbs for later seasons, you can do it very quickly with a one line, like a Moraine putting Leandrin in check with this one line about a man of hers that is maybe interesting, and it's going to pay off later.
I actually, a lot of people are already saying it, and I'd almost have to go along with it. Is a lot of people are saying they think it's put on Fane. That could explain how. Great comment here. I think Leander was meeting with Padon Fane, and that's how they got the dagger from her. And some people are saying I think it's Padon Fane because then it would be somebody that we already know.
Yeah,
but I guess when Moraine says to her, we know what your Red Aja would do with that person, it makes me feel like that person is could be even a big time channeler.
That's what I thought. My gut feeling was that it was someone who could channel, or someone who she was romantically involved with. Not that the Red Ajah can't be. It's just that, like,
I feel it's a
um,
channeler because she specifically tells her that.
yeah, yeah. And again, like Pot on Fane, again, he just does his thing. I don't know, like unless he gets a tip, or it's going to be explained like she tipped him off to follow Moraine through the ways or something. Like, it just see, the thing with Pot on Fane is he's already the Dark One's hound. He's already got the scent. He's already on them, to the point where he follows, even if it's Matt, up to the way gate, and then from there goes through, or maybe there's something else that he's tracking, because we know that the dagger separation happens. But now hold on a second, let me back up here. He had the dagger, right?
It gets
in
taken.
the last episode. Yeah,
Pot on Fane has the dagger. Yes, because he stabs Loyal with it.
Oh my god!
We won't get started on that. But
God.
I went
about
like
things that like get me. That was like, whoa.
I went off the rails on that on something earlier where on one of my videos where I said they've either ruined the dagger or they've ruined like something else.
Yeah. Yeah, let me see here. Leandrin wouldn't be romantically involved, in my opinion. Okay. And so, yeah, we know she's connected. Again, full spoilers, right? We know she's connected to the Black Ajah, and really her connection is to other female Forsaken in the books, sort of, and other leaders in the Black Ajah. Not necessarily. I don't remember, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong. But like, yeah, her being connected to a male individual, whether it's Pot on Fane, a dark friend, it's different in the book. And so I feel like that was very interesting, and something that we should, speculate on a little bit, right?
Yeah, Fane gives orders to other dark friends in the book, so it wouldn't surprise me for him to meet with Leandrin and for her to smuggle the dagger out of the tower to him.
Yeah, that's because when I mentioned like what he had the dagger, because I was trying to recall, he would have had to, like, how does he get it? Because we know how he entered in the book, how he just goes right in there, and he and Alviarin, like, that poor girl gets like cut with the dagger, and she is like
gone,
dying a horrible death. I mean, Kalendor ran, and all the power in the world couldn't bring that girl back. I mean, my God. But apparently, we can bring people back with less than that in the series. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah,
Matt loves the joke.
I love it, actually.
That girl was, or this show or whatever it is, might be so dead that not even Rand Kalendor could bring it or whatever back to life. Gosh. Okay, cool. So yeah, just to I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that, because I felt like it was something that was still really interesting. So
yeah, we had some other topics here. Let me pick one up here. Yeah, why did Matt return to Tar Valon? Now,
yeah,
again, I think the obvious answer for this one is, well, because they had to figure something out in the TV show,
right?
To kind of like, how do we sort of fix this with stock footage and stuff like that. But going forward, I guess, what will be the way it sort of works? I think it could end up being almost the same. Remember where Matt gets healed and then he wakes up and he wrecks Galad.
Yep.
I think it could be the same thing, because I think that would actually work as sort of this cool way to introduce Elaine, because I feel like we're just going to meet Elaine at the tower next season. She's going to be there, and then that's how since we didn't go to Camelin, now you bring Elaine to the tower, because we know we're getting her. You could have Galad and Gawain there, and then maybe our story starts with Matt meeting her. Matt's was captured or something by the Reds, and he's brought back for observation. And then he wakes up and he's been cured, and then he goes outside and wrecks them, and then he runs into Elaine, and then now we've met her.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think that even if Matt just goes back to, now this is an interesting comment, right? That Matt stole the dagger back and found Fane so he could sell it to him, and hey, whatever. But let's say though, Matt just goes back to collect his thoughts. We kind of think Tom Maryland might end up there. He does in the books at some point. That's where he and Matt, like Matt and Tom, will meet up in Tar Valon before they bounce off and head on down to Camelin or what have you. And that's in the Dragon Reborn where they're rolling all the way down to Tyr. But I think, we want him to start in that location. So even if he just went back to gather his thoughts, that's okay. Maybe the tip by Moraine has the Red Aja in some way is like not apprehending him, but they're keeping him close and they're keeping him nearby or in the city to keep him on like a leash or to have him watched. Right. I feel like that is possible. One more thing too, and this is for everyone in the chat as well. Do you think there's going to be consequences? Like it's important that we have a member, like even though this was COVID related and our actor didn't come back, Moraine does tell the Red Aja to look into this guy and to keep him. And if that pisses Matt off, it's something later on you would want to, like when he meets up with Moraine again, if they're going to do that, then he might be a little put out on Moraine and her influence and having the Reds look into him is a pretty dangerous thing. So that's just something to kind of consider.
Yeah, I think I'm actually starting to think as that a lot of the stuff that happens, like that could potentially happen in many of the big cities, a lot of that could just be moved to Tar Valon, and Tar Valon could just be our big city,
mega city.
Like a lot of events that just happen to take place in like a big city could just take place in Tar Valon.
Yeah, unless, and again, if they
Which
would
I'm
just
kind of fine with. I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you look at, I guess, if you can get a similar budget and look at what Game of Thrones did, if they can start to get kind of, I mean, because they had enough locations that we felt still like we were being moved around, and the fact that we went to Fall Dara was a good sign. I was glad because I was like, God, if we're only going to be in like the Two Rivers set and then Tar Valon and then like the Blight, it was going to be like what? Because you also cut Camelin and everything there. So that was yeah. I mean, and we at least got to see Tar and Ferry through the ferry. Through the ferryman, which was enough. So there's little things you can do to make the world work. But I don't know if we're going to go to every big city and we're going to have multiple characters running around in multiple series dealing with all sorts of factions. So yeah, good point. Yeah, we need
we'll go. We already did actually. We will go to Tyr.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right, but I think your question too, like, do we need to be on Falma? Like, do we really need to be? Because you've always brought up like if you're gonna combine stuff. And
I think season 2 is ending. I think, and I'll say it again. Season 2 for me is you take the Dragon Reborn, you take the Great Hunt, you blend them together, and then that's how it's gonna end. I think we're gonna blow the Horn of Lear at the Stone of Tyr, and that will be the end, how you end season 2, which I think is fine. I think it works the same. You don't need to be at Falma to. I think you can have like all the events are pretty similar. Rand's fighting somebody in like, the castle throne, whatever, and it's a big building. Everyone's on the outside doing stuff.
Yeah.
Fighting in the streets. It's literally like the same thing.
Right. This is one thing. Good point. And the question earlier, why would we go to Tyr? We don't have any prophecies. And I've seen there's been a couple comments. Appreciate these actually, like the lack of prophecies. People have been, mentioning like, is that something that hurts the show? Here we go. Yeah,
we got a little bit. We started to get some with Min.
Yeah. So I want to come back on the lack of prophecies in the show. How big is this going to be? I think it's a really good question because I love hearing the prophecies of the dragon, and I love that every book kind of opened with a bit of that telling, and at the end, there was more of it. And it's something that Rand really starts to look into, and it is what drives him. He starts to ask Tom Maryland and Moraine and other people. And Moraine's even a little bit like, I need to go. Like, I think it's in book 2, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. She goes to kind of like ask other Aes Sedai, hey, what does this 1 line or 2 lines mean? And she's trying to seek information like, where are the prophecies telling us to go? And then there's the whole, piece with prophecy, which we see in other fandoms and things that it can be a double-edged sword, right? I mean, it might not be as clear cut as we think, and by trying to fulfill it, we might I don't know. It's yeah.
So yeah. So because of the way season 1 ends with Rand going off, I think we still will get prophecies. in a way, what they actually might really be doing is they might, in all honesty, be merging some of like, this is gonna sound crazy, Shadow Rising and Fires of Heaven. Like because Rand's arcs in 2 and 3, The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn. In The Dragon Reborn, all Rand really does, first of all, it's the shortest book. All he really does, or second shortest book, all he does is like wander off in the wilderness. You don't even see him for like most of the book. And most of the times you do see him, he's like is in the dream world and he's like sitting by a campfire and he's like
Mhm.
not really doing a lot. In the second one, he's part of the group hunting for the horn. And you do have some really important moments with Varen and stuff like that. But what if we just sort of have, this is gonna sound weird, what if Rand goes and finds the Aiel next season by himself? He doesn't go with Moraine and all these other people. And there with the Aiel, he begins to learn more of these prophecies. Like they could really be changing stuff up. And you're gonna, in one way, that's like the big kind of departure from the books. And the other way, it's going to make the Aiel that much cooler because then Rand could come across with an Aiel army at his back
Yeah.
and enter in, and you just
Yeah.
really push forward this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think you mentioned before, like the idea of maybe learning with either an Avienda or some of the wise ones, and then also joining that small group or band that go to Tyr. Like he could possibly do two things: take the prophecies of the dragon, like the book that he was. Then people were mentioning, like the library scene with Loyal. It's there. He does talk about it. But will we expand on it more? And we got a great comment here. I think Rand is going to look into these prophecies more in season 2, and that leads him to Tyr, while others deal with the Shan-Chen over in Falma. That would be cool. And then also, like, again, we're just throwing out ideas, speculating. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I think these are great. We're just theories and stuff. Yeah. Do you also, how do you weave in? Do you hold back on the IEO waste, or like Matt's saying, do you take some of this with you over there and then roll back in
I think
through a different way? Because in the books they go to Kyrian, like he takes them across the IO waste and goes to Kyrian, but maybe he goes with a small group down to Tyr, portal stones back, or something, you know.
Rand could, and honestly, next season could be Rand like in a different way. Goes over, meets the Aiel by himself, trains with them, like he does this whole deal, and then he's end up like leading an Aiel army at the end of season 2. You could also have Rand really kind of change things up. You could have Rand, you could show like 2 or 3 dream sequences that he has throughout season 2, and it's like Luce there and just talking to him. And some of these prophecies and things could be just introduced to Rand via Luce there in dreams. I mean, that's definitely to sort of change things up and stuff like that, but it could still be a cool way to do it.
Yeah, it would, for sure. Phil mentions here that, he can buy the idea that we discover the Aiel and the prophecies, but then, when will we be introduced to Elaine? I still think that's one of those big splits, right? Rand is bringing in a whole new wave.
I think the viewer, is going to be introduced to Elaine very early, way before, because in the books, Rand is introduced to Elaine in the Eye of the World.
Right. Already. Yeah.
But I think we'll see Elaine. I think the Rand Elaine meeting is going to be, it is already. It's going to be way later when it happens.
Yeah. Now, interesting. If we take him, these are all great questions, because once he leaves the IO waste, he's pretty much out of there, right? But this is an interesting point to go to Rudion and to understand what. And again, I love the people who are bringing up the lack of prophecy area, because really two things I'm going to try to weave together. Like Moraine, just the viewing that Katara had, that Suan and she saw, like about the dragon being born on Dragonmount. That's really what they're going with, Matt. Like they for as far as like framing who the dragon is, it's all based upon some foretelling in the tower that Moraine and others witnessed, that the dragon would be reborn, and that it had been reborn. And they're looking at ages and near Dragonmount, all this kind of stuff, which is what Min tells us. And then men can see these, symbols and stuff. So the prophecies still need to be there. So do we figure those out along the way? Does he get Tom to help him more with those? What's the whole deal? Do we go then to the IO waste? And again, stuff's different over there. He's not the dragon reborn. He's he who comes with the dawn, right? I mean, he's
too.
That's who he is. And does he go to Rudion? Well, we learn about the Aiel people and their connection to the Aes Sedai and the Wise Ones and their connection, all that kind of stuff. I think that would be really interesting to see. You don't have to, but then he would have to go back. Like if he goes into the Aiel Waste and learns and then goes to Tyr and then bounces back, he'd have to bounce back to go to Rudion to figure some stuff out. So
I mean, first of all, I'm just going to go ahead and say Amazon should probably just hire us in this group chat to be a think tank for them, because we're already doing a way better job than they are. So
hey,
I mean,
if you're gonna change it, let's just be honest. If you're gonna make the changes that we saw in season 1, if those are greenlit,
let's at least make good ones.
Right. I'm just saying, yeah, exactly. If those are greenlit changes and they were completely crazy different stuff, I feel like, yeah, almost anything can be on the table at this point. Because it is. I'll give people who get angsty and upset about the changes. They're like, well, they're just so different. They're so whatever. They are some major differences, which is okay. But if you're going to greenlight it, I'm saying our changes are great too.
As long as the changes are good is the thing. I mean, you and I were talking last night about the most recent Spider-Man movie, and it's like it's totally different than the comic book arc, but it's good and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Just even if it's a big departure, as long as it's good, it's fine. If it's not good, then it's like, well, you literally, then it's like, well, you were given a map. You know what I mean? You were given a map, man. Like, how hard is it?
That's a good point. There is a map for success.
There is. Right.
It's a successful series, people. It's a beloved series. There's things to improve upon, but you've had years of people, talk about that. It's a great Alan Bird, great comment. Maybe we'll get another episode about the Water Bond. Maybe. I don't think we've had enough.
I swear to God.
Would you have made the change? Would you have made the change to stab Loyal? God. Would you, Matt Brady, in the seat?
I did. Can I just talk about this? So money. No. I railed on this in my Is Loyal Dead YouTube video, and but I do have some good comments here I want to get back to really quickly. But I did rail on this. I mean, how dumb of a decision. I'm going to be honest with you. That might literally be the single stupidest decision they made in the entire show, because even in what context they've set up with the show, like stabbing Loyal and Uno with the dagger and not having them immediately die fails on so many levels. It's inconceivable how stupid it is. I'll just be honest. I'm sorry. It is the single dumbest decision of the entire season. It's even worse than all the fake deaths they've done this season. Yeah, exactly. You either ruin Loyal or you ruin the dagger. Exactly. So what you've done is, in episode 4, Matt is holding the dagger, and a Fade literally is like, I'm not coming at you. So you've already established that the dagger is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's changing Matt.
Got an evil.
And they talk about Moraine says, do not touch it.
Mm-hmm.
So then the books say that, like, if you are stabbed by this, if you're cut, you need immediate attention,
Matt,
or your
intervention,
or you're toast, like you're screwed. So they
here we go. People are coming out hard.
I know,
now.
I know, because everyone's like, here we go. That's what we want.
Let's get the hate. Yeah.
So look, you've either killed Loyal and Uno, which would be, I'm dead serious. If they killed Loyal,
I'd stop watching.
Which I know. Rafe did an interview where he said it's fine.
I know, it's fine. I know. Thank you, Rafe.
But then you've ruined the dagger. Then you've ruined the dagger. And then, like, how do you fix it? The only scenario I could see, but the problem again is that you already stabbed Uno. So are you just going to kill Uno off? And then you could kind of fix it by saying, well, like, Loyal's an Ogier and the dagger may not necessarily affect
That's
him.
What I was thinking.
You could sort of give the Ogier this, like, special, okay, they're different type of a thing. That's the only out I see. Yeah. And then you have to kill Uno. And Uno's like one episode in and it's like, dude, this dude's awesome.
Yeah. The only thing, also the other thing that I always try to look for the positive ways in which you could redeem this situation here. Okay. And Matt's like, there is none. All right. This was crazy. But You know how Frodo, when he gets stabbed with like the Morgul blade, and it's like this wound that doesn't heal, and it has all these different issues and stuff. Like that's like Matt deals with that just by being attached to it. It needs a great healing, just because he touched it and possessed it. Now these guys have been stabbed by it. You feel like it's going to be some lingering wound that they might have to endure throughout the whole thing. Uno and I don't know if Uno was, but man, I don't know. I just. Because Podon Fane was stabbing. I mean, am I wrong in that he was?
As they show him put the Shadar Logoth dagger back into his thing.
Fudge. God. Yes. Well, they'll have to retcon the dagger. Oh God.
And the dagger's like such a big deal.
Yeah. It's super important. I mean, and again, I mean, Loyal. I also did some like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you get a scratch on Loyal or something, but like to think you had Loyal on the ground, I don't think so.
Now, if you had stabbed him with a regular dagger, then it's just like, okay, whatever. He stabbed him. We're going to have to heal him, whatever. But he stabs him with the Shadar Logoth dagger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just.
Yeah. And
you can still cliffhang.
Yeah.
And have it make sense.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I know.
All the chat is like, it's
well, and Phil said this,
stupid.
like, this is where I was wondering, like, he is just putting it back just where you get like, well, which is fine. I'm like, okay, maybe there's a, maybe he just, but God, I don't know. It's just, it's crazy. So anyways, yeah, the whole is Loyal alive? He's alive,
It's not cash money, Jimmy. I agree.
What is it? Messing with the horn of the dagger. Oh God. Yeah. What did you guys think about that? Like having the horn. So it is stolen, right? The Horn of Valyr is stolen. Podon Fane has it, and he's rolling out. Where's the dragon's banner? Are we gonna?
Yeah, I was okay with that. I actually thought the horn being under there was okay and fine and cool. I actually, in one way, I actually think it's kind of cooler, to be honest, that like somebody else had it and had it like hidden secret. Yeah. And it's not, we don't just find it at the thing. I actually, because it in a way, it actually then ends up making Faldara be a little bit cooler, and that they've had this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Okay. Let me break bread with you. I actually enjoy, like, that's fine. I'm cool with that. Do you think the dragon's banner is inside that box?
Oh, could be
inside, because that's the thing. They find this kind of. What do you guys think in the comments? Like, the dragon's banner will be in tier. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I like that, because I mean that would be a cool place. Finding those objects and finding those sort of magical, air quote magical, or just special items along a quest is really important. And so I feel like, yeah, you would want to see. We have to get that. That's something like Moraine. What she does in the Great Hunt, she stuffs that in there, right? She stuffs that dragon banner in there because she, like Rand, is still a bit reluctant and hasn't come to terms with the idea that he is the dragon. So for me, the dragon's banner is pretty cool. It's on the cover of some of the books. It's something that, like, it's his standard as he goes into the waste and so on. It's necessary. So where is it? There wasn't a, the Eye of the World, and I'm going to weave this all in there together. The Horn of Valyr is not at the Eye of the World. The dragon's banner is not there. The pool of Saidin, the pure Saidin is not there. And it's really just that, and now it's the Dark One's prison that has been cracked open. So yeah, it's all different. I just hope we need the banner, and I want to see it. We got a couple of comments here.
Oh, we got super chat for Jimmy.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, it feels like they may need to retcon a lot in the season 2. Gives me Disney trilogy vibes. I can agree with that.
Wow. I'll say this though. You know what, Jimmy? At least there's a showrunner. Okay. Is he the showrunner that was promised? There is at least that, like, a lesson has been learned in that it's not just 3 different dudes doing 3 different things or whatever, which actually was just 2. But I mean, yeah, that's what I've been what I love about the Mandoverse and Mandalorian and all those things is that you have showrunners, people who are like, it will fall at their feet, right? They're overseeing multiple seasons, and unless it just goes off the rails, that's why Dan and Dave, for Game of Thrones, it's like, it's successful to some degree, and then when it fails in season 8, it's the blame is laid at their feet. All the movies and the deals that they had, gonzo because of a shortcoming, which is a whole another story for a different time. But yeah, there may be, as I was mentioning, the dagger and the horn and stuff like that. They might change up a few things, or as folks were mentioning, we might see some, different interpretations of those things. The box is way too small for both the horn and the banner. Okay. All right. Let's see. What about the seal? So as we were talking about the Eye of the World, was that whole thing a seal for the Dark One's prison, or were you guys getting the idea like Quindiar Heartstone is like the seals that we're gonna find that have been spread around the world? I don't know, like that was that just the Dark One's prison? Interesting.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily explain it as much as.
Yeah. Yeah, or it's in the treasure vaults in Tyr. Maybe James is saying maybe that's where the dragon's banner might be. So yeah, the horn wrapped up with the banner would be cool if it's wrapped inside the dragon's banner. So yeah, good comments, good thoughts on maybe where the heroes ask for the banner, so it has to appear before the horn is sounded. Dragon down, coming in clutch there. Got to see the dragon banner. Moraine knows it's important. Puts it with him. Puts it with Rand, and off we go. So, yeah, big question going into season 2. Where is the dragon's banner, and what do where we're gonna find it? Tyr sounds great to me.
Yeah, we could.
I think that box you could fold up in the box too. It might be in there too.
Yeah. The dragon banner.
Moraine's had it the whole time.
Gee, Merry Christmas.
It's in the White Tower. I think people are like, "Oh, stop."
Yeah, we can find it somewhere else. I'd be fine with that. The banner could fit there.
Yeah.
The dragon's banner, to be honest, is one that you could honestly do. I wouldn't be surprised if they just got rid of it. Agreed. I mean, do you have to have this old dragon banner, or could people just maybe you could literally just change it to be like people are flying the dragon banner in support of him, and you just change it to, it doesn't have to be like you find this one specific banner. It could just be that people are flying the colors of the dragon to go with Rand.
Whoa, this is a good comment. Could the banner be with the people of the dragon and they bring it to Tyr? Because Matt was bringing up this whole idea that maybe Rand goes in there. That's a big change, right? I mean, I was throwing out things like the Aes Sedai have it and whatever. They've got because that's one of the things. You get the cool backstory. I think it's in Rudion and where they mention like there are male channelers approaching one of the ancient cities in the Age of Legends. And all hell's breaking loose, my friend. And they do something special with the horn and with the band. The Green Man is involved, the whole thing. And you had some Aiel there as well. So who knows? It'd be kind of crazy.
Let's see here. Rand goes home, learns the sword, works on channeling, stays at the cabin, intends to go to the Mountains of Mist, go crazy, gets some dreams about the sword and Tyr, and we're off. I could see that.
Yeah. So that would be crazy. Here we go. I would buy the banner in the Wasteland. Rand could bring it if he does Rudion, and the Aiel follow him, so on. Yeah. Gosh, you would have the well, if he goes to Rudion, he comes out with the dragons, right, on his arms too. That's a whole other thing, right? So we'd have to see. That'd be early on season 2. That would be really interesting if that became a thing. Okay. Let me switch up here. This was a kind of a heated one, and you guys can leave me some comments about this. But at the end, and I just want to kind of stir the pot up a little bit. Is Moraine stilled or is she shielded? People were losing their minds about this. Someone needs to stop the stilling. I mean, it happened so much in the first couple. Like Suan is stilled. Leanne, I mean, it's in the books. It's crazy, right? But because I think that's what, right, Matt? That was one of the big buzz things going around after season 1 finale was that, look, it's the same netting, right? That's over Logain. So it looks like it's just a shield that's been tied off. Something that they could do that that Rand, when Rand is Rand's captured, different people are shielded, and they start to kind of feel that knot or that tying, and they rail against it. They are able to kind of untie the knot and get out of the shield. Is she just shielded, and will she have to learn how to take that off, or do you guys think that she's been stilled? Because the gentling process that Leandrin did looked a lot different, didn't it? Visually,
it did. Yeah, some people are saying shielded, like, so it's just you can see him tie it off. Shielded and knotted. I don't know that. I don't know. That's a cool. Go back to that one. I was like, he's got a cool logo there.
Oh, Dragon Down's got it going on. Yeah,
that's a pretty sick icon there. I don't think she's stilled. I think we're gonna have she'll be back to using the one power soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think? So when we start off, though, just kind of a Moraine prediction thing here. Do you think she'll go? How does she just learn that on her own? You know, how to get out of that, or like out of the shield, because she believes she's cut off. I mean, she's one of those powerful individuals, and there's
right.
a recurring theme in the books is that the reason Moghedien is so important to Nynaeve and to Elaine is that they learn how to do things like illusion. They learn how to, like traveling, like becomes a thing. Like they learn a lot of different talents from the Forsaken in the Age of Legends. So like, does Moraine, what does she have to learn, I guess, or how do you guys think that's going to play out if she's there was an interesting comment about if she was still, that she would be able to lie for Rand. You know, she can't lie, and so when he says, "Tell them that I died here," like if she opens up with like telling a lie in season 2, people will be like, she was stilled, you know? So I don't think she was stilled either. I think she was shielded, but I knew that was a big kind of question that was going around. So she'll learn to untie the knot. And that's the thing. Yeah, Moraine actually learns a few. So in, what is it, book 3, where she Balefire, I think, is that the first time that kind of pops up? And
Swan unties it pretty obviously, I think.
Yeah.
She just has to get on her knees first. It's a lot easier.
Oh, that's my bad. All right. I see. Got it. Not God. He's God. Unbelievable. God, he's unbelievable. Moraine is shielded.
This is how it goes when Ez and I always getting ready to stream. It's just always me over here cracking jokes.
God. Okay. All right. Anyway, how does it affect? So, yeah. So I think she'll just learn it. It'll be kind of like Balefire, things that she has learned that had been forgotten, talents that were long gone, and everything. Because I think I was reading a comment too on one of our YouTube videos. People were mentioning Moraine. Maybe it was even this chat where she basically has 1 or 2 chapters, I think, in The Great Hunt, where she just seeks information. So. Yeah. Is this a time? Do you think that we're going to see maybe another, like, is Varen going to be our Moraine this coming season, or are they going to introduce Varen, keep her, moving along? Because it does make sense as to why maybe Moraine can't go on with the group and why you would include Varen. Because in the story, it's really kind of odd that Moraine just dips out, and it's more just she's figuring out. We find out she's trying to learn about the prophecy, trying to figure out what are the next steps, But these are pretty important individuals that you really wouldn't want these Ta'Veren to get away from you necessarily. And she's very much tries to possess and take hold of them or pay attention to them or whatever later on. And now it makes a lot of sense that if she needs to go figure out how to untie the shield, well, then now Varen can step in there and be kind of a leader or like a guide by the side.
Right. Yeah, so Moraine maybe takes a back seat a little bit next season.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, she has to go on her own journey here, and
or do they? I don't know, man. I feel like Rosamund Pike's like
I know, big sell to
your star. I'm gonna of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could be. That's a great comment here from James. I think Moraine goes to Varen for knowledge about what happened to her. But yes, somehow we've got, because she is exiled, right? I mean, Moraine is not going back to the.
She can't go back to the tower, but she can run. She can obviously run across Aes Sedai outside.
Yeah. Let me see here. What else we got? Possible to break. Yeah, okay. It's possible to break a shield from the other sex. Lanfear says it requires accepting pain, which is why she says Osmodian cannot. That's right. She does. Lanfear does shield Osmodian and gives him just a trickle, right, of the power, so he can teach Rand. So that'll be interesting to see what she learns about that and where her arc goes. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, what's Moraine? I mean, if Moraine can't go back to the tower next season, and she can't use the power.
What good is she, Matt?
What is she doing?
She better start reading the freaking prophecies. You know?
I mean, seriously, where's she gonna go? Because
okay, this I want to bring again. So this whole prophecy thing. So okay, awesome. You found
agreed. Real quick. I do want to know what a tell is too.
Yeah, what is a tell? Because like a tell.
Yeah, this is how it goes. Like then we start going, and I just want to
Matt just wants to rail on the show. But no, Matt, I think with Moraine, just to kind of wrap this bit up here as we look forward to her in season 2, it's Guitarra, it's the foretelling, it's that power of foretelling that has kicked off this whole thing for these Aes Sedai, for Siuan and for Moraine to find the dragon. So they find the dragon. But then how does the dragon fulfill the prophecies? Or what is that's going to tell? Like, how do you communicate to the rest of the world that he's the dragon? Just the Aes Sedai back him and they say, yeah, this is our guy. What happens when the tower splits and they back somebody else? Like, there's a fulfilling of the prophecies. There's proclaiming yourself to be the dragon, rallying those folks around you. So I think Moraine will get into that more, and that will be good for the story to get that in there. Because right now it is just sort of like, no, and their plan, by the way, is just, let's just throw him. Like it'll be an automatic click, like a flip, flipped switch. We'll throw him at the Dark One, and that will be what will trigger whether or not he is the dragon. It's
right.
It's crazy.
It's kind of a stupid idea.
Seems pretty risky to me.
It's incredibly stupid. I also like that he calls her out and he's like, last time you tried it, you brought 100, 100 people. It was 100, the 99 companions. I mean,
right.
And you're just
right, and you bring
this one boy.
Right. Yeah. Just Moraine, just this Aes Sedai and Rand. Like, I mean, that's it. Like, that's weak sauce.
I mean, they've been searching for this guy for the last 20 years and they don't have a plan.
Yeah, Matt, what's up?
You know what I mean?
Things at the White Tower are not. That's why I love Logain's comments. Like, your power, the further you get away from the White Tower and you go out into the world, that the power weakens. And the White Cloaks were a great kind of representation of that.
Great question here. And I thought it would be kind of cool to dive into this. So slight little shift here. Do you think they'll get rid of the 3 wives scenario? And a comment here already. Min says that she sees Rand with 3 women in the show, so it looks like it's staying in. Rafe has kind of been, he hasn't really dived too deep into this exactly to say like yes or no, this person it is gonna be happening, they are staying or they're not. But everything that I can see is that I think it is going to happen. It just might be slightly different in that maybe he's kind of with this girl for a bit, and then we moved into the following season and he's with this girl for a bit, and then we move into this season and he's with this girl, and it's just kind of when he's around them is when he will be going down type of a thing. Oh, I mean, I think we lost Ez there. It's okay. He can pop back in. He probably lost the internet or something like that. Let's keep diving into some of the questions here while we wait for Ez to get back. They need to start making the Taviran visible and uncover the Catharian cycle. Varen would be good for that. Yeah, definitely. They had been talking about the Taviran just briefly throughout the season, and then it kind of didn't really go anywhere. In the first episode, hey, I think there's rumors of 4 Taviran here, and then we didn't really dive much deeper into it until Put On Fane says at the end of episode, then for what. Then says says that let's get Ez back in here.
Hitting me right now. flicker. The power is
Uh,
flickering in here, guys.
oh man,
It just went out.
that's funny.
Oh my
We have
god.
a comment here that says, I for one am glad Ez is gone."
I know. As soon as I come back in, saw ya. I see ya. God, Jimmy.
So anyway, we was talking about making Tavira invisible. So then Padon Fane says at the end, hey, you all 5 of you over Taviran and have them all in one place. So I do think that they're going to explore being a Taviran more.
Yeah.
And here's a question. As and I talked about this a little bit in my changes thing, and some people were agreeing with me, and we've talked about it briefly. Do we like the idea that Egwene and Nynaeve are Taviran in the show, or was it better in the books where
Ooh. So okay, let's go over that because that was something you and I wanted to talk about. And I know there's a lot of comments over on some Facebook groups, and I saw some stuff in Reddit. Like, there's a big discussion. There always has been as to whether or not Egwene was Taviran in the books. And some people will say, and I would love just to kind of see just comments about this down in our chat. Like, do you think it deters from the character? Do you think it helps the character? Some people used to call it like the Taviran sort of like boys club, if you will, and like it's just them, and it was cool to be Taviran, and like it was some extra, thing, extra power or whatever. But then like all of Egwene's accomplishments are just like her own, Nynaeve, so on. Yeah, it's 6'2". All right, 6'2", guys, 6'2", Jimmy. No, so it's like I kind of feel like. I don't know. Like I think a lot of things happen. There's people were almost upset with Robert Jordan in the book series that he didn't go ahead later on and confirm that Egwene was Taviran later on, because so many things happen and you're just like, man, is that the pattern? Is that the wheel? Is that like is that something that is Egwene, or is that more her being forced into these different things? Like, I don't know, chance, luck, things happening. What do you guys think in the comments about whether like including her in the Taviran category?
well, it's
And then
both of them.
and now, yeah, that was my question too. Like, at the beginning of the story, it's like it's rumored that there are 4. Podon Fane says there are 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that was clear because like
At some point in the season, I feel like somebody else said 5 though.
see, that's what I'm saying. I don't know who else said it. I think like
it's like in the middle of the season.
yeah, for me it was like the fact that there was a rumor was like, okay, well, if it's Moraine saying there's only a rumor, well, then maybe it's not actually Egwene. And when it was rumored, it wasn't necessarily Egwene, but people were saying it was. It could have been Nynaeve. And then, but Nynaeve was gone in Moraine's eyes, and that, we lost track of her because she's stolen by the Trolloc. And then now at the end, it comes back that they are all Taviran. So are they also all the Dragon Reborn while we're at it, Matt?
I liked the idea of that. I liked the potential they're all Dragon Reborn. I thought that was cool.
Oh yeah. Actually, when one of the topics like coming out of, and this kind of shocked me, but there were a lot of blogs and different articles and news companies, whatever, that were saying, is it answered? Like, you took the events of the Eye of the World and you split it. What Rand does, he only does like, he just has this confrontation where he chooses to fight for the light. But like the whole other, the big battle where he goes out and like, see, this is really interesting. Okay. Rand hasn't had that moment where like the dragon's back, or like he went out and he conquered this army at Tarwin's Gap, and Falma is or like these individuals are behind him. I know, again, Falma is where that really happens, and that's really where the Shienarans are like fall in behind Rand or whatever. So I guess that's okay that we haven't done that yet. But the accomplishments of the Dragon Reborn in the Eye of the World were split up. They were split up. Now they do include 3 other women that were channeling out there on the fields just outside of Tarwin's Gap, but a lot of that is Rand. That is Rand doing. So that is actually Luce Theron doing things at the end of the Eye of the World. So, people were kind of saying maybe they've split this up and that it's more than just one person being the dragon. I don't think so, though. I just thought it was interesting that other articles and people were mentioning it. So, yeah.
Yeah, so just some comments here. Let's see here. Well, Jimmy says that you're definitely, there's no way you're taller than 5'7", and I agree, because
It is, and even if I had to say 6'1.5", they go to the doctor sometimes at 6'2", sometimes.
I'm 6'1".
Yeah, and
And
I'm
as and
and
I as and I are like the same height, exact same height.
close.
Okay.
Yeah. We're fighting over half an inch here, but that matters in some arenas, okay?
Well, it does me in my arena. It definitely matters. But here
Crazy.
we go. Nope, they're not dragons. Dragon has to be a male to sort the imbalance, and the wheel is all about balance. A woman dragon in the lore of the show would further the imbalance.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's something that they were hinting at. I don't think so either. I think it's Rand, right? It would take away from the whole, like, his realization, all of the stuff that's happening with the Guitarra and then the confirmation with Tiamat Thor. It's him. But I thought it was interesting that they brought it up. And the Taviran bit, we didn't get a whole lot of comments on it, but I think I get where people are like, it doesn't really matter as much.
Yeah, actually,
I hope
I
there's
was
not a lot of Taviran stuff. Quite to
I
be
was
honest with
looking
you.
for this. I was looking for this comment. It was on one of our YouTube videos. And from the comment is from Athalis BC. He says, as far as the girls being Taviran, I always considered at least Egwene to be. Yes, she works hard for her accomplishments, but she is also put into a lot of situations that cause her to have very quick growth. Saying I've heard a theory of her being described as almost like as Black Hole Sue, where people around her make decisions they normally wouldn't make. If that's not Taviran, then what is?
Yeah. And that's where some people are kind of like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, that gets into the nature of Taviran and whether you like that and whether it's a part of the,
Yeah,
universe. So
because it just sort of, I guess it sort of changes it, right? It's like, if you're on this predestined path, then whatever you decide to do doesn't necessarily matter, because you're just destined to do these things, as opposed to free will and you choose to do these things, then it's more impressive, right?
hmm hmm yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's sort of where
It's
people,
why Batman stopping a bank robbery is more impressive than Superman stopping a bank robbery, right?
yeah, exactly. So it's a so the Taviran Club, some people would say, is a Superman like thing. And it actually, when you give that to Egwene or Nynaeve, it can take away from their Batman accomplishments, is what I
Right.
think some people try to say. So
Because Batman going in, he can get shot and die, whereas Superman going in, nothing's going to happen. It's kind of like I've often heard it described as, like, the difference, I guess, between those two characters, which I'll also use as this, like, Taviran versus non-Taviran, is, like us, an average human being, stepping in and stopping two kids from fighting is a good thing, but it's not heroic.
mhm,
So does that, that, I guess that's kind of one way to sort of view it, where it's like Superman can get shot, he doesn't die, Batman does. So is it as heroic if Superman stops something from happen as Batman does? And that gets be tied into the Taviran thing, which is why I think it's cooler that Nynaeve or Egwene isn't a Taviran, because then it does make what everything she does seem that much more cool. That's not to say it's still not cool that
mhm.
Rand and Perrin and Matt are doing
No,
the
yeah,
things they're
Superman's still
the
cool.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still cool that they're doing it, but it doesn't seem as cool, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually a really great way I think it's a great way to look at it, because I've never been able to really articulate what I hear people's frustrations on both sides. And then I also see, like, people say, well, no, like what Egwene does, as you read that comment on YouTube, those accomplishments or the speed or the whatever at which she learns, weaves, and does stuff and makes, progress in the story, would lean into the idea that she's Taviran. And that, like, if you're going to define what Taviran is, then she should just, like, based on definition, she should be there.
Right.
And the fact that she's not, though, that Robert Jordan said she isn't, means it's something different and maybe extra special. Like, so I don't
But
know.
I would also say, though, that being in proximity to the amount of Taviran that she's in proximity with, I almost feel like it doesn't necessarily matter, because
Their effect, yeah, could on her, because
their effect on everyone else around them basically pulls them in a almost predestined pattern anyway.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, like Rand, Matt, and Perrin being ta'veren will cause everyone around them to be on this very specific path. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like that's the whole point. Robert Jordan said she's not. End of conversation until Rafe said she is. So
Well, I
like,
mean,
like, so who, she
yeah.
is. Um,
Here we go. Batman is a billionaire with lots of tech. Superman has powers. The power differential is what changes our view of the two. If both are equal, then you need to compare Batman to Iron Man, kind of a thing, right? Well, for me, Batman's is number one and will always be number one
whoa.
for
Okay.
me over
Yeah.
anybody.
Um,
But Batman actually is, in a way, if you go and you honestly read like the wiki page on him, it's so absurd that there's almost no way he's not superhuman. It's like it's almost Egwene is the Batman of Wheel of Time. Okay. Where it's like, if you really sit down and look at everything she does, it's so close to being like ta'veren
mhm.
that it's almost like, how is it not?
Wait, who? Which one?
So I'm saying Egwene and Batman are like the same thing,
Oh,
because
okay.
it's like, well, obviously the exception of the money, because Egwene's broke as shit. But
Well, I mean, hey, her father, the wine spring inn.
right,
I mean, okay.
right. But it's like, if you look at all of her accomplishments, I mean, it's like Batman's accomplishments, right? It's like he has like 13 master's degrees. It's like he's super rich. He's like training with this like almost like superhuman League of Shadows, like all these things. It's absurd. He's like survived the vacuum of space for like 12 seconds. Like, it's just, just total absurd stuff that the only other way you could ever do it is if you were superhuman.
Yeah.
But then it's like, Egwene's the same thing, where it's like, you go and look at everything she does. She's learning how to channel like way faster than everyone else. It's almost as if she was ta'veren, but she's not. But being on this side of the line, I think, does make it that much cooler than being on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Here we go. Egwene is not around Rand most of the books, and she does pull people around her, but Egwene has too many.
Deus
Okay.
Ex Machina moments to be normal. Agreed. 100%. But she grew up. But the thing, I guess what I'm saying is, she grew up with Rand and Perrin and Matt. And so, I mean, clearly she's throughout her life learned how to channel. I mean, at least, she doesn't really necessarily know exactly what it is. That's the whole wisdom thing. But I mean, I think she's probably way further along because of her time around those three guys growing up, where you're so pulled by the other ta'veren person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Elaine, Elaine, for example. Elaine's path has to be she has control over it until she meets Rand, and then it has to go in sort of a direction that involves him, because he's going to pull her thread in a
It's been
specific way,
foreseen. Yeah.
because
Men.
he's
Yeah.
ta'veren,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, and I like this idea too. Like this comment we have up here. Like again, because I think Egwene is has those moments that are beyond normal. Like it's not. It's something
Right.
else, and that's why the only other thing that Robert Jordan. I mean, there's other things, but like what he gave us in the story to say that it's when something like this happens, like what Egwene does, her arc, her progression, all that kind of stuff. When things aren't that normal like that, you look toward, you say, well, that must be ta'veren, and the fact that it's not has been interesting. So being ta'veren would allow her and Nightbooth to own their
Success is like
successes.
Ben. Otherwise, it's like ta'veren rub-offs. That makes sense for Egwene. Oh wait, isn't that what happened in the books? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, will Fail ever be in the show, considering Perrin has already been married? I believe that they've cast somebody who, again, it's another one of these things. If you look at the castings for season 2, they haven't given names, but the girl they cast, I mean, it's almost like you just look at her and you're like, that's Fail.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she will be in it too. And this is because again, it was just such a quick moment for Layla and and the dark friend theories that went on for a bit, and he's struggling with it. Again, I don't know. Let's back up, Matt. Why bring in Fail? He and Egwene said they were good. Like, how good are they, buddy?
Wow, as
How close are I mean, like, there's something going on, you know what I mean? Which is crazy. we did that video on the line where you know, I forget what was it, either Elias or someone, or it was with the Tinkers, where Perrin does have some sort of feeling for Egwene. But no, I think we'll see Fael. And I can't wait to see that. And I think he'll go back to the Two Rivers, the whole thing. He'll have his whole arc. I think the White Cloaks and he will still go at it. Crazy that Egwene's the one who stabs Valda, and I look forward to seeing how that affects the relationship that the White Tower or even the Rebel Aes Sedai or whoever will have with the White Cloaks. So yeah,
I'm trying to scroll through to see if they've. And what happened to Steve? I mean,
yeah, what happened to Steve? What did we miss? Steve? Did I miss him? Is he?
Steve was never in it, man.
Who's Steve, guys?
Remember it was a casting thing, and
I
everyone was
know.
like,
yeah. Was he
was
not
like,
an old
oh,
guy at the just sitting around in the Wine Spring Inn? Was he just some rando guy in the back? Maybe.
I don't know, man. But he was never cast.
Yeah. Yeah. You were mentioning Fael, that comment. So Perrin's had it rough. I mean, every time he's on screen, I do feel kind of bad for him. I'm sort of like, this is like, we need something. We need him he's in a real low place. So yeah, I want to see his arc kind of take off and have him, do something epic and level up. Steve is the dark one for sure. Yeah, you have to give Perrin something. Poor guy had nothing to do for the last 3 episodes. I thought he was Taviran. Matt,
Right. So here is this was some casting.
Okay.
I mean, the girl on the right just seems like she's going to be Fael, right?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that was I don't know that it's confirmed.
Yeah.
But
so this is from Watt series. I mean, they're pretty big. I think they've been on the Dusty. They were on the Dusty Wheel the other day.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, legit. This was cool. I think Rafe has said he had plans to make
okay.
more
Let's take that for a grain of salt.
Yeah, I do remember that being mentioned though, and that he was talking about changes that he thought people would maybe like. I don't know.
He's gonna make Fael the dragon, and that'll make people like her.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's all right. Fael coming up soon. Yeah. Let's see here.
Let's dive into it as of time.
What is it?
Word count. It's time for our Wheel of Time word count here. Let's get it pulled up
and see where we're going to cut, where we're moving forward. Predictions.
Where we're going to cut, man. Where we're going to move forward.
Matt, I don't know why we would cut anything.
Shaidar Haran, yes or no?
Yeah, much later. Much later. But yeah. Why not? I mean,
how could Fael? This is the Green Xeno who has said Fael is his favorite character says more likable. How could Fael be more likable?
Yeah. Right, she's great.
Okay, so now is my favorite part. This is where we look at the word count. And where we're at. So now that I've seen it, right? We've seen all of season 1, which was the Eye of the World.
Yeah.
So what's everyone thinking for season 2? Are we just gonna start blending these 3? Remember, there's some stuff from book 1 that might get shifted over into potentially a season 2. They had a little bit of new spring content. We're sort of further along with Logain. We're like way further along with Lan and Nynaeve's relationship. I would say Perrin's powers are even a little bit more developed. Rand's going off to the Io Waste. That's like, we're over here area.
Yeah. So to answer your first question, and we'll get some comments rolling in here, just about the next two books, The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn. Again, there's been some interesting conversation already about it. Do we take Rand over to the IEO waste as he goes on his great walkabout, or do we keep him in a pursuit for the Horn? It feels like he's going to depart and maybe go do what he does in the Dragon Reborn, or like he starts at the Great Hunt to kind of say, hey, I'm out, like peace out, he's gone. Perrin and Matt are doing their thing. So maybe there will still be that conversation where he gets roped back into the hunt for the Horn, but there's really no like the dagger is taken or what. There's no pot on Fane. There's no connection to like helping his friend Matt in this because Matt's back in Tar Valon. So to me, it makes a lot of sense that he would just go do his thing, and Perrin needs to have his moment because he witnessed all this. I mean, Loyal gets stabbed right in front of him, and what Perrin? Nothing. So I feel like, you know,
Well, I mean,
he's
if
got to
Loyal's
go.
dead, look how much we could trim out. I mean, how much is Loyal in these? I mean,
Yeah.
actually, I think you can view here by, they have this thing's so cool here. They show you like all. It's like some sort of ridiculous breakdown of like everything you could ever want to know about Wheel of Time. I mean, it's got like everything. So it's like nationality, word count, like how many words. The fires of heaven, some women join a circus. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
The fires of heaven is my least favorite. Is my least favorite book. I thought that maybe they showed you like how often a character was in it, but I guess not.
Yeah. So yeah, anyways, back to just the idea, like the Great Hunt and the Dragon Reborn combining those, I think is doable. And I'm with you.
I actually
Always have been.
I'm actually starting to think even more, man. We might be pulling even more into season 2. Because before we saw episode 8 where Rand said he's going to go off like by himself, my thought was Padon Fane steals the horn, and then it's okay, the hunt is going on after him, and you send Perrin off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I almost felt like you could start to begin to pull Perrin White Cloak stuff that takes place in the Shadow Rising book 4, because they have done a great job of building the White Cloaks up, and maybe have that's Perrin's arc in season 2. But now they've shifted it around. So I think, especially since they gave Perrin the sort of stare down with Padon Fane, I actually think Rand is going to be off by himself next season, much like he is in The Dragon Reborn.
Yeah.
And I think Perrin is going to be the one leading the hunt for the Horn next season.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that works. And also, like, if Rand does do anything and he does go anywhere into the IEO waste, you could then weave in some Shadow Rising stuff. I mean, you could start to kind of do something if you wanted to.
Even Fires of Heaven stuff. As crazy as that sounds.
If you want to get some IEO stuff, yeah, like prior to them leaving. Yeah.
Maybe, in all honesty, maybe I don't know, man. Maybe next season they don't end with what we've thought is the Dragon Reborn, Tyr, and Kalendor. Maybe you move that back here, and maybe your big sort of season 2 for Rand
Couladin
is he actually fights Couladin and kills him.
Yeah, man, it'd be crazy.
And then he's got the Aiel army at his back, and he's not just the Dragon Reborn. He is he who comes with the dawn.
That would be interesting. We are thinking like Falma, Tyr, in season 2, but it could be season 3. And then, like you said, you shift some stuff around. And if he goes on a great walkabout and he goes into the IO waste, could do a lot of that stuff while everyone else is still doing their thing. And Perrin's leading the hunt. Matt's going into Camelin. It might be too many people in 2 different places. I'm not so sure if it's too much. But yeah, just a think tank here,
Yeah. Skip the Great Hunt. It's pointless. Go to Tyr and merge it with Falma. Kalendor is good enough to confirm Rand. Yeah. But it seems like where they're going is that Rand is going to be doing Aiel stuff. And yeah, that's books 4 and 5. So maybe Rand is doing stuff in season 2, like book 4 and 5 stuff. Yeah, Matt doesn't have to go to the Aiel waste. I have no idea what they're doing with Matt next season. I guess
Matt does just hang out with Rand for a while, and it's kind of just crazy, right? He's just
so chilling. I'm going to have to say, this is what I'm starting to think. I think you're going to move everyone into sort of pairs next season. I think Matt is likely to do stuff with Tom. Matt and Tom will meet up. And even though a lot of their stuff is like happening here, you'll shift it to here where they're like, I want to get out and go do our own thing. Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine will be at the tower training. And I think that's where you can start to do like the lore building, because it's like going to Hogwarts. Okay, we're gonna learn defense against the dark arts, right? And what the dark arts are and why they're important. So I think that's where you can sort of do a lot of your world building, lore building, explaining why the bad guys are bad and why we should be scared of them. So I actually don't expect much from the girls next season outside of that. I do think, and somebody had a comment here, that we will begin to get some more Leandrin stuff going on, and Suwan gets sacked. I do think that's going to happen, and then she's going to move into like trying to find Saidar in season 3 with possibly Logain and Min. I think Min will show up at the tower next season.
Wow.
There's
so
a lot.
Much.
There's a lot. Season 2 is going to be big. The big questions is I don't really know what Moraine is going to be doing. Moraine's like the what? Moraine's the one that's like, I have no idea what she's going to be doing. I can see sort of a path with everyone else, but I don't see a path with her except trying to get healed. Maybe this is going to sound crazy. Maybe Moraine's goal next season is going to be like totally off book, and she's going to be seeking out someone who she thinks she can heal her, and it's going to be, what's her name? Casdane or Cadsuane.
Yeah, okay. Something great, like bringing her in.
Like,
yeah,
totally, like just total different.
Guys, who was the cat? There was a casting, and I always say Katsuane's I always say her name wrong. But I think it was a casting confirmation, or that people were talking about an early casting for her, which would be pretty wild. You know, the other thing I was thinking is that maybe just like Pot on Fane, you got to pay Rosamund Pike quite a bit of money to do this, but still, maybe she just pops in like Pot on Fane in episode or 2. You're going to see her just like for 1 or 2 quick shots, and she's just searching, doing something. And at the end, she's there to help Rand with a couple of Forsaken, and she's leveled up in some way. Who knows, right?
Are they gonna do Snake and Foxes? I don't think so.
See, I don't know. Like, I actually thought if Moraine was stilled or she needed to learn something, that is a place she could go for some answers. I don't know. That's and I also thought Matt, like, he's gonna get there at some point. He's gonna get the Foxhead medallion. So yeah, I don't know. Moraine needs to. Yeah, well, she needs to run into Tom.
What if they totally change it and Matt? But I guess Matt could go with Perrin on the hunt for the horn.
Yeah,
and the dagger.
Yeah, he could because he needs something to do. You still need to put people, like you said, in pairs and put them in groups. So it's a lot to think that like Rand is going to be on his own. Perrin's doing the hunt for the horn. Matt is going to Tarvalin, then to Caemlyn, and then Egwene, Nynaeve are at the tower. Moraine is on her own. Suwan, you know, this is why it's always been such a daunting thing to say we got 8 episodes. Hopefully we have 10, by the way. Hopefully we have 10 episodes. You know what I mean?
There's an online petition for it. Will we get to see Rand's sword fight with the Shan-Chan Lord in Falma move to Tyr?
Yeah, and see, that's a really cool moment where he becomes a blade master and stuff like that. Like, these are all things that are really going to be on that board. Like where and how do you do these things? Is it going to be a different blade master? Maybe like someone was mentioning that the events of Falma or the Shan-Chan could be dealt with by someone else, and maybe who Rand and Moraine are fighting in Tyr. Is maybe he fights a different blade master or something.
Rand will need boot camp before fighting a blade master. I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. We haven't seen any of that.
It doesn't. We really haven't seen any of that. And then I don't know. I guess maybe Rand's gonna. Is there a blade master over there in the Aiel Waste he's gonna train against? I mean,
yeah, no, yeah. God, people would lose their mind if Aiel started to, like, if they did something like that. Like, they'd lose their mind.
I mean, I guess you could maybe show him training with them, like hand to hand, like combat, because they're so sweet. Even though he uses a sword and they use spears to just sort of level him up, and then you could introduce, and then that would sort of, I guess, show him a little bit as just like, okay, well, he's been training with these guys. That's why he's a hardcore warrior. But then later move into Blade Master.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you guys looking at the prophecy to figure out what's going to happen? Well, they haven't really introduced the prophecy, so we're
What
just trying to.
prophecy?
We're looking at what exists in the books in the near future that we can kind of move and entirely shift around to try to make something.
This
I
guy's
mean,
been
the
on
only
it all
thing
night. He's been on it all night. No
I
prophecy in
know.
the show. So what's the point? I mean, it's true.
The only thing we know is we're past season 1, and this is where we're at, and we have all of this to go.
Yeah. And so yeah, there are things like we were talking about the Forsaken earlier and Fires of Heaven and Ravine and some of these things that you could kind of merge and move around or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, man. It is it's a lot. I thought we had the Great Hunt and the Dragon Reborn down consolidated until I started going through all the characters and was like, what the heck are you going to do? You're going to introduce
What are you gonna do
Farron,
with
but
them?
like Moraine's just going to be a cameo from time to time.
Well,
and I mean,
I was on board for it until I still kind of am, but the problem is Rand, right? Is that now Rand going off on his own throws everything
let's
in.
let's talk about something that I think so will they completely ignore Galad and Gawain? I'm gonna come back to what Matt was just saying there too. So the idea, look at Loyal. Loyal was kind of majorly, I think, not shortchanged, but like, well, close to it. Like,
Right.
he's a big time character, but yet not big enough. He's not one of the Emmons Fielders. He's not a Taviran. He's not what he's our Ogier representative. And you've got these guys like Galad and Gawain who are big and who are huge and who are important, one to the White Cloaks and then one to Egwene, and they will matter. But can you bring them in yet? I mean, do you have to maybe wait? Do you push this further down the line? If you're going to bring in Elaine, why not bring them in at the same time? You know, it's
right. I mean,
the cast is growing.
They brought Loyal in at roughly the same spot. He kind of serves the same purpose in book 1 that he does here. Like, he still helped them navigate through the ways. Really Loyal to me is like he's much bigger in like book 2 when they go to the steading and
which is everyone's saying cut. All right,
it probably
will. It won't be as
I have a feeling a lot of the stuff with the Ogier is just going to get cut.
Yeah, like I feel like,
I mean, Loyal's already got cut by Padon Fane in the stomach.
Yeah.
Because he got stabbed. He got cut. You get it? It's a joke, as.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
sorry.
My bad. My bad. Yeah. So let me just real quickly, just in recap, go over a couple things. And I'm just going to list these characters off, and then you got to think of pairs, who they're going to be with. You've got Rand doing his thing, Perrin possibly finding the horn. Matt is still in Tarvalin. You've got Egwene and Nynaeve back in the tower. You've got Siuan is there. All the tower people can be, condensed. Moraine's doing her thing. Varen has to be introduced. I feel like that's been kind of largely confirmed. Fael's going to get woven in here. They might meet her along the way. Min is still around. Elaine has to be introduced. Galad and Gawain. And Fael. And
Fael's not
even
when does Fael show up? Book 4? I don't think we meet her till book 4, right?
It's the Dragon Reborn.
Is it in the Dragon Reborn?
You guys correct me if I can't remember.
Is it in the Dragon Reborn we meet her, or is it in Shadow? No, I think you're right. I think it is the Dragon Reborn we meet her, but then her and Perrin get married in Shadow Rising.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like their big moment.
Yeah.
And then there's characters that we're assuming are already cut, like Elida. And that Leandrin is just going to be, and that Leandrin is just going to be Elida.
Matt, then there's the unexpected thing, like Alana was like huge in season 1 with her warders, and they're gonna keep her around. And I'll just say this, like, not that her role is not significant, but it's kind of secondary to Varen for a little while. It becomes significant when she attaches herself to Rand, but yet she's
Elias.
Dude.
I think they've already said Elias isn't happening.
He's out. Here and the Sniffer's out. Elias is out. The Green Man is out. Okay. Do you think they had just a list of characters and they said cut?
Probably.
Is Barrelane out?
Real quick, I was trying to find this. There was an interview with Rafe Judkins where he was talking about like what he's how he's had like screaming matches with the woman who's like the lore master for the show, or like remember that, like it was like
Oh yeah,
early
Sarah
interview,
Nakamura or whatever her name
Sarah
is.
Nakamura or whatever, and like there was one interview where he joked about there's one
Naming
interview.
like Yellow Aja members or
No,
something. Yeah.
there's one interview where he joked and he said something about like he once joked with her and would like send her something like, hey, can you find a way for us to like cut this person, and it's like a super important character, and he like would get back to her 8 hours later as like a joke. It's like you just wasted that woman's day.
Jeez. Oh my! Is
I
that
mean,
happening? Is that
there
how
was
we're spending the
I
money?
know I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find it. But do you
You're
remember that
kidding
it was
me.
early on? Remember, like there was
Yeah.
a lot of those. Yeah, I think it's might even been on one of his Instagram things
Yeah.
where he said that like early on was like, oh, yeah, you know, like we would get into screaming matches over. She'd be like, you have to do this, and then they're like the Manethrin thing, like they fought incredibly hard to keep it, like super hard to keep it.
Right. Right. No, I remember there was like the one that thing I remember was like they're talking about Aes Sedai and like coming up with a name for a character, and people were just like looking in the book and randomly pulling out names that they thought were like, okay, maybe it's this person, and he's like, are you kidding me? That person's hugely important. But like the way these characters get introduced in the book series is that their second wave. I mean, you have like there are batches, like you've got the Salidar, Rebel Aes Sedai, and like the sitters there are important. The ones who we see in Ebu Dar are they kind of stick
Here it is.
together and they're important.
Found it.
Yeah.
Boom. Sweet. Let me read. I'm going to read this Reddit post
Read it.
here. I'm going to pull it up. I was finding it because these people basically rail on Rafe. And they talk about how this. So let's not blame Sarah Nakamura. Evidence that she fought the good fight against most. Like most, I was disappointed in the season. I've been reading a ton online from others who feel just the same, but I think it's important to put the blame where the blame belongs. Show supporters have already started constructing a narrative to dismiss everyone who criticizes the show. You know, whatever it goes on here, all that stuff. So he says, I've seen mixed comments, you know, this is from, let's start from this quote from Rafe in a tweet. There were moments where a thrilled room of writers would go, we've cracked it, it's amazing, but can insert book, canon, person, place, thing be inserted to non-canon idea instead? And Sarah's resounding withering stare would tell us to go back to the drawing board. R.I.P. Perrin talking to a bear. So this person goes on, and this is just some more comments from Rafe about Sarah Nakamura, who is out there fighting the good fight. All right, she's the one person in there. She's the light. Says, I have Sarah Nakamura talk me through the long-term ramifications of any changes so that we can get what's going to happen. Sometimes to drive her crazy, I will send a casual email that's just like, hey, can you work up a long-term ramifications list if we kill Tom? And just keep going like it's a total normal day as she collapses as a human being. Then tell her we're not going to kill him. I think it helps keep her on her toes, but she probably disagrees. Ha ha.
You're kidding me.
I'm not, dude. They have links to these comments. These are legit comments from Rafe, man.
Hold on. Go back to what's the so she wasn't even in the room for a lot of decision. They just asked her for information. Hold on, let's go. There was to say. Even if Rafe is just joking about Tom, that's evidence of how loosely they were playing with the story and how the best she could do was play defense. Same with the description from another tweet. What does that tweet say? That final one. Every writer receives.
Yeah. Every writer receives a document when they begin the script put together by our book expert, Sarah, that breaks down every scene in the episode and gives specific dialogue and scene references from all the books for it, especially for scenes that aren't from the books at all. We will find scenes from the books with the same characters together or talking about the same thing thematically. That said, predictably, almost all the dialogue in the show is not from the books, so as to sound as natural as possible with our locations, actors, scenes as they played. I remember that. You and I actually read that once. We read that on a YouTube video because I remember him saying that. And again, that's true. Sometimes you can't pull like direct lines. You do have to sort of change it up to make it look like it's going to work for for stuff like that. So this person ends up going on and they just rail on Rafe. But I mean, I do have to say, especially like it was kind of funny at first like, because I'm like remembering some of these tweets and stuff like that, but to see now, it's almost like, dude, do you have like a blatant disregard for some of this, like some of this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. Someone put I had a comment here that it's more of like these books are, they're the background. They're the it's, and I get that it's the world, that it's an adaptation. That I hopefully that was a one-time thing, and even if
Right.
it was one time, I
Right.
mean, because that would be really I think you meant that in jest. I would hope,
Right.
because that's ridiculous. If that's the case, if that's an everyday thing, that's a joke. It's
Right.
not. There's no way that it can be, right? It would be a joke.
Who knows,
But
man?
but yeah, and you know what though? I say this. I'm glad to have read that and said, okay, she's doing the work that says, so, okay, hey, what if you kill Loyal? What are the long-term ramifications of that? Yeah, you might want to know what they are.
I mean,
You would want to know. And that is the thing. So I guess, like, you know, what if they just decided to kill, like, what if the people who didn't know the story and they said, all right, we got these characters, we get kind of we've read the first 3 books, but what if we just kill Matt? Like, what if we just do that? We just think, what, like, is he that important? Are you kidding me? Like
yeah.
those are the kind of devastating things to, like, that's an extreme one, using it extremely. But yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, you don't want to do something that's really gonna have long lasting effects, you know? So yeah, and how much, because there are things like I brought up with Elida, like the Leandrin Elida merger. Well, then, like, the effects of that, like, someone has to represent the White Tower and be the Amerlin seat. Someone has to have the gift of foretelling.
Yeah, he did. Rafe did say that Loyal is alive, by the way. I mean,
Yeah,
he did.
he did.
He did. I guess though is, again, like, even Loyal being alive right now for me is still a question. Not that he is alive or he's not, but like the ramifications of stabbing Loyal with the Shadar Logoth dagger, whether he lives or dies, you have either ruined one or ruined the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just look at other moments in this season where, again, I think, like, the step-in stuff, man, I feel like it was a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's gonna be like a big deal, like in season 2, 3, 4, and 5, like it comes back later. I feel like you could use that to expand more on other things. Like, we could have gotten more Loyal in episode 5 instead of Steppen's funeral.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's where, though, like, they are. Yeah, it was to to give more of it, because it's also mixed in with the Logain story a little bit. Maybe they're going to talk more about the Battle Aja, the Green Aja, water bonds. You know,
Why not just kill?
water
Why
bonds
not?
are important later. So,
They
like,
are.
again, but like,
But
uh,
the whole deal with the bonds and why it's important is because, and as they've already started building, it's the idea that Lan is bonded to Moraine and he loves Nynaeve. That's it.
yeah,
As far as season 1 is concerned, the whole importance of it is that Lan is bonded to Moraine and he loves Nynaeve. That's it.
yes, and
But
also,
you could have easily just have killed Steppen.
right. So the other thing is, too, you can pick and choose when to do this. Let's go over this for a second, because, like, we don't know how quickly they're going to accelerate things. For example, spoiler alert here, for some folks, like Alana has bonds Rand,
Right.
you know, that, like, what if Alana is killed? You know, what would that do to the Dragon Reborn? So when do you want to explain the consequences of losing of the bond between the water? Like, it's a memory of light, spoiler, but it's like that's kind of see, you could have chose to do that later, right? Is the
Right.
whole point. In season 1, does it matter to us? No. But if you're trying to lay a breadcrumb in season 1 that pays off in season 8, it is right there. Alana's, spoiler, sacrifice later on saves
Right.
a lot, you know. So, like, if that is why they're explaining, I think, this water bond, and And I didn't want to go into that, but that's why when you're adapting the whole series from book 1 to 14, and you want to lay a breadcrumb in season 1 that pays off at the end, like you said earlier, Matt, there's a roadmap here. There is a good roadmap, and if you know where they might go, that might be a reason why they do it. Now, did they need to spend that much time on it? Is it that, like, unless they're really gonna play that up a bit more in the series, and where they're gonna get there faster? I mean, like, I don't know, like they might. I mean, again, like the girls all bond. It's a water bond. They all do water
Right.
bond with like you've seen Brigida, like that
Yeah,
happens
yeah,
between
yeah.
her and Elaine, and then Rand. They're all bonded. Lan's bond is passed on to Nynaeve, Egwene, Gawain, all of it. So that, I think, is why they did it, and they chose. But it's I don't know that they needed to spend. It was the funeral, right? Maybe that people are like a bit. That's a bit much, right? That was the part that the funeral felt more unnecessary than explaining why he was going crazy and wanted vengeance and was trying to kill Logain. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I guess it's for me, I guess the thing is you have X amount of time to explain things that need to be explained. And in a television or any on-screen adaptation, to me, this just might be my thing. Where you succeed in any story is by building your villain or your villains to be as ruthless, evil, maniacal as possible. I'll give you 2 examples. Thor: Dark World. I love Thor. I think Chris Hemsworth is great as Thor. I love Christopher Eccleston. He was amazing as Doctor Who. He's been great in everything. He has, like, by far one of the least amount of time as a villain on screen of any Marvel movie. He's barely in the movie. So then when you go to fight him at the end, it doesn't feel like it matters or is important because you've barely seen the guy. He doesn't do anything important or whatever. The Dark Knight, total opposite. You might as well call that movie The Joker, because the Joker's in it. Almost, it feels like more than Batman. And so every time he's on screen, it feels bad and evil and scary and all this stuff. I feel like you could have taken the time that we showed with Steppen, who's like, not really book big, important, whatever character.
yeah,
You could have spent that time talking more about the Dark One, talking more about the Forsaken, talking more about Padon Fane to make the impact of them feel more significant. Like in the end, when Padon Fane shows up and stabs Loyal, it's like, who's this guy again?
Yeah. Yeah, and I get you. And that's the disadvantage of having 8 episodes versus 10. Because I'll make a case for what Rafe did with the and this is full spoilers. I'll make a case for what Rafe did with Stefan, right? Is that maybe he didn't need to go a whole half an episode with it, but somewhere along the line, because it is so important to how the light wins this one thing, it does need to be there. Whether you spend now the argument is, do you need to spend 30 minutes on it or 5 or 10? But it needs to be significant enough that the audience remembers it, because it is Alana's, I believe, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it's Alana's releasing of her bond with Rand that saves sort of the day. It's that, and we know that him going possibly berserk or him losing his Aes Sedai or someone who's bound to him would be kind of that would be what was that was the Dark One, or the Dark One's army, like their plan to kind of do that. So it's a big payoff later on. It's just how much time do you spend on it, and that's and when and where do you do it. And right now, it's one of those things that you look at, and this is why I said it earlier when you brought it up. It is like, look at other places where, so is that necessary over, like, maybe is there another place where in which you pull back on, I don't know, other relationships or whatever, and not really, and then build up the dark, like build up the villain. Because you're right, you do have to build up the like Padon Fane. You do have to build up the villain and all that kind of stuff. You do, but I don't know. Like it's when I know they're going to use that possibly as a big thing at the end. That's the
right. And
zip it all together kind of thing,
and I agree with that, and I'm fine with that. But early on, like your earliest stage stuff needs to be the most simple, is the way I view it. Is like your earliest stage stuff should be, here's the villain and here's why
Yeah.
he's bad. And
Yeah, that's what yeah.
you slowly introduce that other stuff. You don't need to set up deeper level stuff. I do feel, and I know people are talking about the water bond and stuff like that, but we already kind of talked about it in the episode before, and then we're going to talk about it in this episode, as well. But then the rest of the season is Moraine's just masking her bond, so it feels less important, because it's just
Yeah.
like, well, actually, I don't need it. So why
Yeah.
did we build it up here if it's not going to be important? But then on the flip side, where they actually do a good job is the dynamic of Moraine talking about, Moraine with talking with Lan about how, oh, I like her, the wisdom, because Lan is not moving with Nynaeve. So we're actually already getting this like bond thing with Nynaeve being, I can't marry you, wisdom never marry, all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so I feel like we were still getting that bond stuff. I just view that as, to me, if I were to pick any section that I would cut away from season 1 outside of, like episode 8, boom, I feel like you could have really, especially because we were in the White Tower for the first time, you could have expanded Loyal a little bit, who could have like given Rand a history lesson or something, or like, oh, what's
Yeah.
this book you're reading, or whatever. And it's right in the middle of the season, and you could have really fleshed out a lot of the like water stuff, or you could have talked about Luce Theron, or like, oh, this mountain you said you saw, like, here's the importance of it and why it's a big deal. And
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's stuff in the Two Rivers you could have done the same stuff with too. Like that you could
right.
go. I mean, you're picking one point.
I know.
Like
I'm
you can go to two, and
right.
you could go to the Two Rivers and do that almost anywhere. Where I'll agree with you is that, like, the way I think they could have accomplished the same thing with the step and stuff is, instead, someone said it in the comments, instead of having him have this less, like, basically show him go berserk, attack low gain and get killed, and then just get killed right there, and just don't move on with the whole funeral, bringing the ring back, all that kind of stuff, and just say, man, that's what happens when you lose your Aes Sedai, or when the water bond is broken, and really just like go for it and just go crazy, because then you didn't take as much time, like Matt is saying. You can use it for different things, which is fine. So I'm not disagreeing with you at all about like reducing it or changing it. I just think that it's like somewhere you had to do it. Now, I don't even know that you had to do it with that character, though, because in the book they don't, right? I mean, in the book it's just mentioned, but I think it's like something that they're going to play up. When you're in the mind of Rafe in the writer's room, the fact that they gave it that much attention is the only reason why I'm thinking like, well, shoot, they must really
they really believe it's important.
Yeah, and that's something that they're holding on to. So
which just causes me to question. You think that's more important than, like,
well, that's why I'm saying
showing us a guy in episode 1 who's gonna be like the guy who steals the Horn of Valir and the dagger at the end of episode 8. Yeah. And all they say is it's the horn of freaking Valir, bloody Valir, is what Uno said. But if you're just a show watcher only, you're like, what are they talking about?
Well, yeah, and the other thing too, so I brought this up earlier, the fact that Alana is in this and that she has as big of a role as she does, and they did the water thing, means like they must really be going for this storyline over others, and they're emphasizing it more. And that's shocking to me. I'm actually I'm like, I am actually shocked that it's a thing. But you wonder why,
Yeah. How do you even say this guy's name? Stanislas. I don't know. He had one earlier saying something about Padan Peekaboo, and it was hilarious.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
It was hilarious. But he has another one here. We needed to say we need to see the Dark One's impact on the world right now to explain Moraine's sense of urgency and reinforce it through the episodes. Yeah, that's where I agree. I felt like there was no weight to like what was kind of going. But to be fair, a little bit, the Eye of the World itself, the first book, is kind of like that. When we read it in the podcast, I kind of said the same thing, where I'm just like, I don't know, man, it doesn't really feel like it's that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And okay, Alan, yeah, no, I get you. There are things here. So like we've brought up the prophecy. we've brought up like the Dark One lore, like Forsaken stuff. Like, dude, you chose. So here's to Matt's point and to credit on all the stuff we were just talking about there. You chose not to give us more lore on the Dark One, understanding of his prison, the Forsaken, and you did chose to emphasize the Ward of Bond. So that's where I'm like, you can choose to do different things. And I just saw a comment there from Alan Bird about it, and it's like, yeah,
just call me Stan. Can do.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks. Yeah. And Stan's had great freaking comments all night about the prophecy and stuff like that's another thing too, Matt. Like, he's mentioned it over and over again. Take a bit away from the Steppen arc or storyline, or in that, if you're going to include him and you're going to have that whole talk about the prophecies, right? Talk about the lore, make it lore building, and that's was more just about Moraine. And like their dinners must be boring because they don't talk much. I mean, I get that. That's kind of
right.
You know,
I mean, first of all, like the guy who played Steppen was great, and like the acting was phenomenal and everything. And it was super cool to see all that.
Yeah.
But when you're on a limited time schedule, every minute matters.
Yeah.
It matters, man. I mean, that's just where I'm at.
Yeah,
I guess where I'm thinking, and
I think they were trying to make us feel the loss of that Aes Sedai as well too, and I think they were just trying to do kind of like, and it's cool, it's awesome, but like you said, where we start to criticize the series is like, hey, where is the prophecies? Where was Podon Fane during all of this? Where could we not have gotten a conversation with him in some like Murdraw or so, could we have gotten more of that? Because that's why the last episode feels like it doesn't hit as much, and I'm like, I don't know. That's just, where I'm at. Other than that, that's my only real gripe about the season, though, was just that the way it all was strung together at the end, and then did all the decisions you made along the way pay off? And I felt like they were going to. It's just the way they executed it. I don't know. It's like I felt like leading into it, we were really good, and then we get there, and we just don't and
it's like hit a brick wall. Literally, it's like
I don't know what happened. I don't even know how to really.
It was like whiplash. We're just like, okay, man, this is good. Let's get what the hell just happened? Like,
yeah. So I don't know.
Okay, when do we get the prophecies in the book? It's not until mid book series that we get substantial prophecies. Not really. I mean, the first time we meet Min, she gives us Min in the Eye of the World tells you basically how the whole thing's gonna go.
Yeah, let me see. I mean, I think there's always like little tricklings. You mean, I think they mean like the characters experiencing it. I know Rand definitely, I think it's in the Dragon Reborn where he starts to really contemplate them as well. And so was there more in the Great Hunt too? I know Moraine is the one seeking information about that too, so she can help Rand with it. But I feel like it's all that time Rand spends, especially in the Dragon Reborn in Tyr, like prior to learning like that, he makes the decision to go to the sword that's not a sword, and like in the stone, the whole thing.
Exactly.
Kalendor, right? Like he reads the prophecies and decides to go there. Now you could still do that early in season 2, and I think we can pick that up, and that's what Stan's been saying all along, which is like, hey, they're not there right now. Like, there's not been a lot of mention, but there was a book. There was a slight reference to it. So I feel like they'll come on strong in season 2 with it, and we'll get there, because he even sits up in his room in Tyr, doesn't he? And he decides what to do next. Like, do you go to the waste? And he's asking Tom about it, and he's, so great thoughts though, guys. These are good.
Great thoughts. So okay, we'll kind of, I think we and as we're moving into 2.5 hours here, we can kind of just close up. So just, I guess, general thoughts on season 1, just as a review here. What are just your thoughts on season 1 as a whole?
Yeah, I think like I enjoyed I thought the acting was great. I said every episode I kept thinking like, wow, it's good. And where I'll get into some negatives here is like, I didn't notice the acting for Rand until much later. Why? Because he took a back seat for the first half of the series. So that can be a critique. But once I saw him step up, I mean, he's shooting the bow and he's seeking the void. It's awesome. And I'm loving it. So I thought the acting was really good. I loved a lot of the Lan Nynaeve dynamic. I thought Moraine was awesome. I felt really confident all the way up through episode 7. And I felt like it was a really good story. It had me guessing. It had me trying to figure out where we were going to go with these things. And I just didn't think it finished if you want to talk about season 1 as a whole, I didn't think it really got to it.
Didn't play 4 quarters football.
Yeah, you get them up, right? Get it 4 quarters, babe. I don't know that it I don't know that it was still good, and it still leaves a lot of questions and a lot to speculate about, and it's a decent setup, but it wasn't like something that was like at the end, beheading of Eddard Stark is one of those
that's actually not the season finale. I know
right,
people, but it's so
that's
big that people forget it's not the season finale. Yeah,
which is crazy. So there wasn't a moment like that though. Like that. I didn't feel like there was in this, like, whether it be the second to last or even the last episode. I know the channelers do a great job and all that. They're burning out and stuff, but like you said, they're near dead. They're brought back.
But in the books, it's Rand.
It's Rand, yeah. And so had all that been tied into one person and one epic moment, I think it would have like hit harder. But I don't know. It just so to me it was good all around. I was locked in. I was good. I was even good with some of the changes. And now I'm looking at it wondering, okay, why did they give certain characters more screen time? Why did they push certain plot lines or whatever forward or advance them? And why did they do the thing with Perrin and his wife? I'm asking those questions. So it's got me asking good questions and thinking about season 2. I think it was beautifully shot. I thought like the COVID stuff and all the I don't know what happened behind the scenes, right? With Matt not coming back, Barney Harris and all that kind of stuff.
Barney Harris knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, he did a great job. I just think like that is something that it was a hurdle that they did navigate. It did work, but maybe it had something to do with like the awkwardness of the last episode. I don't know. So yeah, but for me overall, I said early on, I was giving it an A. I could be talked into like a B+ or whatever. I still felt like it was that good, all because of the first 7 episodes. I don't know where they lost me in the last episode, but they did. And I have to admit that. Normally I don't. Normally Ez is like really pulling every string he can to make it seem like this was awesome. You know what I mean? It was epic, but they truly did. Something happened in that episode that I don't get. I don't know what it was. Maybe they wanted that feeling. I don't know, that you're left leaving, or you want the audience feeling like they want more. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on season 1, just in general.
Yeah, I mean, man, a lot of people are saying, I think a lot of people are kind of on the same thing here. Just looking at the chat, a lot of people are like, man, there were definitely parts I liked, definitely ready for like, I still want more, even though I didn't like that final episode.
Sure. Yeah.
There's definitely parts. And I think that's sort of a success, is that at the end of the day, we all are sitting here wanting more.
Another shot. Yeah.
Man, I generally loved episode 1. I just loved, and I think, and I still go back to it. It's just because I saw so much of all of the stuff, like getting the hype and like doing it live streaming with you guys. Which, by the way, let me just get that out of the way first. The live streaming and watching this show with you guys and coming on and talking every week is literally the single most fun thing ever. It's just so awesome. Like, so many people in the chat that we've like been seeing this whole time. MJ Daniel,
copy to pasty.
Exactly. I mean, some other people. There was what's his name? Red 5,
Dragon Down.
Bird, Dragon Down. A lot of you guys have all been on here hanging out with us the entire time. I obviously didn't get to everybody, but it's been so much fun.
There's so many of you guys.
There's so many. It's so awesome. Just coming on. So anyway, so the hype and the excitement. So episode 1, like, I loved. Episode 2, I felt like when I watched it the first time, the White Cloaks again, man, just seeing them more menacing, we were like, this is crazy. This is like super
it's
cool.
Crazy. Yeah,
it was awesome. Shadar Lagoth ended up being like, it wasn't, I guess it didn't end up being like as cool as I thought it would be, but it was still kind of good. Episode 3, once Tom sets on, even though his song kind of he has this like raspy, whatever kind of voice, I still liked it, and I still think he's good, and I definitely just want way more Tom Maryland, because I want more.
Right.
Then things kind of change around for me. I don't know. I kind of, episode 4 for me, like with Nynaeve and potentially being the dragon thing, like, it was exciting, but I'm just like not a big Nynaeve fan. So I sure. Internally I was like clenching my fist, because I'm just not a Nynaeve fan. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, if they're gonna make anybody the dragon that besides Rand, it needs to be Egwene. And but whatever, it was still good, exciting. Logain was freaking sick. And then I really felt like, man, I felt by the end of episode 3, like 3 through 7 is like they've hit their
Yeah.
stride and it's just climbing. And it just felt like each week it was just
Yeah.
good stuff. And then episode 7 cold opening with Tigraine was freaking like unreal. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we had episode 8 and I was like, man, what's going on? And I felt like they just didn't know what they were doing, and it was a downside. But all in all, I'm still excited for season 2. I still had a great time. I actually think I love the score. I'm a big music person, so for me, I love the intro opening. I think it's cool. I think the score is very cool. Daniel Henney as Lan for me is like the standout of the season. If I have to pick one person as a cast member, I definitely want more Rand.
Yeah.
Perrin and the Wolves was cool. But for me, I'd have to say honestly, like Valda, it might be like my second favorite, just because as a villain, he just kills it.
It was good.
He kills it as a villain. And when you have, that's my big thing, is when you have good villains, he was by far the most menacing villain of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Way more than the Dark One. Like,
right. Yeah. That needs some work. Yeah.
He's the best villain of the season. And it's I didn't think it's close.
Yeah.
So he was really, really, really good, as he crushed it out of the park. Mm-hmm. So definitely excited. So there's a lot of good pieces. And I feel like if you consider this to be a rough draft, I feel like, okay, now you can reflect on season 2 and you can say, okay, what do they like? What didn't they like?
Sure.
And then go forward. My biggest sort of criticism, if I have to pick one thing, in all honesty, would be, I felt like, even less than the idea that they're building up the Dark One to be this big villain, I actually feel like where they didn't hit anything out of the park was they spent the entire season talking about why the Dragon Reborn is such a big deal. And then really the only thing we actually ever see is Nynaeve when they think she's the dragon, and she does like the, super heal everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's Rand's turn, it didn't feel
significant. It felt weird because they were in a stasis state, and it was.
And then in the books, he's the one that uses lightning to blow everyone up, and they change it to where it's all the girls. And so it's like right now, I don't feel like being the dragon is that really that cool of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It got way slowed down, and it got way, you know what I mean? Like that was the other thing too, is it really shrank down to this, like him showing him other, like a Gwaine and a baby and a child and all this stuff. And it just felt, like you said, like the dragon didn't have the power. They were going to throw the dragon there, and they were going to just like toss him right in front of the Dark One and say, boom, he's going to explode and go crazy. And that just, he has that moment where he turns the thing, but
great comment here. Did you ever think we'd be saying we want more White Cloaks?
I know.
No, never.
Didn't think that at all. They landed that. That was good.
They made the White Cloaks way more awesome than they've ever been.
Hey, even the subtlety and like Jeffrey Bornhold and his demeanor towards Moraine, my lady, getting aid and stuff. I was like, wow, they're threading a needle there. It was good.
Yeah,
real good. So
so awesome. So all right, guys, I think that's an okay place to wind down on. We're at about 2.5 hours here, so it's super fun, super cool. So guys, moving forward, as and I are going to be diving back into the books. For those of you guys, we have all of our podcasts are here on YouTube as well. There's in playlists, and we're working our way through the books. It's actually my first read through the books, and so it is treated as a first read, so there's nothing really spoilery. But we're about to start, so like a lot of the content you'll be seeing on the channel, we will still be covering season 2 and everything. But you will start beginning to see some book content as well here on the channel, and we're about to start book 6, which is Lords of Chaos. And Fires of Heaven, let me tell you, it kind of left me like season 8, and I was like, episode 8. Let's not
episode. Well, yes,
same thing. Really,
same thing, right?
Same thing. And so episode 8, that's kind of how I felt a little bit about Fires of Heaven. But man, I'm back into Lords of Chaos, and just picks right back up.
Yeah, it does, and I'm excited for that. So definitely, if you want to check that out and have some fun, and we also do a segment too at the beginning of it where we do like our village council, and we kind of talk about maybe show stuff, as Matt said, season 2, or even just questions left over from season 1 that will be kind of fun, and maybe even explaining some things in the Wheel of Time that might matter, objects and items and power and stuff and such. So we have extra episodes over on Apple Premium, over on Patreon. If you guys want to support us and help us out there, we'd love you forever. A review on the podcast, comments on the videos helps. It's great. Liking, subscribing, all that stuff. You guys are freaking awesome. And yeah, man, we cannot wait to kind of continue with the book club. That will be exciting. Matt's already into the prologue and he's enjoying it. So
I'm at chapter 5. It's freaking
awesome. Are you good?
Oh
okay.
yeah. No, this book's good. Like, see, book, like I've loved the first 4 books. I really liked. And then 5 kind of took it down, and then 6 I'm way back up. So
nice.
Awesome, guys. So all right, guys, with that, as always, thank you for listening or watching here on YouTube. We always appreciate it. We will see you next time. And remember that the grave is no bar to our call.